The door was created from an entire immense piece of black rock. Heavy and sturdy, even if Su Xing used all his strength, he was incapable of opening it even a fraction. This door mechanism seemed to have also stumped many people. Spread all across the door were intersecting slash marks, having been hacked and chopped at by countless people venting their anger. Even so, this door was as before, high and mighty, motionless. The thief Star Shiqian was also frustrated to death by this door. Using her light movements body techniques, breaking away from those mechanical beasts was not very troublesome. The problem was that she could not feel out its underlying principles. With no alternative, she could only draw away those mechanical beasts so that she could have enough time to slowly solve this door mechanism. However, seeing the knowledge star, the resourceful star, right now, Shi Yuan just placed all her hopes on Wu Yong. Su Xing exerted all his strength to try to push it a bit, but exerting all his strength moved nothing. Su Xing then searched once more across the door. Besides the scratches hacked and chopped out of it, the stone door made from basalt had no other marks. Seeing him search so carefully, Shi Yuan dampened his enthusiasm. This young lady is indeed a specialized robber. The things that should have been inspected have already been inspected. The door has concealed a secret compartment inside, but opening this secret compartment needs to be done from the exterior. In other words, this door is hiding a mechanism to open the door. Su Xing nodded his head. Since the thief star said as such, this mechanism was clearly not that easy to find. Looking at this door filled with cracks, Su Xing surmised that the mechanism to open the door perhaps had something to do with these cracks. Sister Xinjie, have you figured it out? Shi Yuan blinked her eyes as she watched. Can't you see young master is thinking? The knowledge star smiled but did not speak. Su Xing turned his head and saw Wu Xinjie seemed to have a card up her sleeve. Smiling, he said, Xinjie, if you have solved this mechanism, don't keep up the suspense. Knowledge star, you solved it this quickly, is that true? Lin Yingmei and Ensuan showed their surprise. Seeing Shi Yuan being so impatient, Wu Xinjie did not keep the others in suspense. Shrugging her shoulders, this mechanism is right before us. To claim that you're the best thief under heaven and not perceive even this minor thing. Shi Yuan stuck out her lip. She had stared at this door every day to the point she was about to become blind, and she still could not make out the reason why. Wu Xinjie stood in front of the door, amassing star energy at her fingertips. Then, she made strokes in the empty space opposite the door, and those ugly cracks on the door suddenly had several of the hack marks flash several strokes of white light. The rest showed amazed expressions. An opened character appeared on the door. It was right after this appeared that the stone door slowly opened with a rumbling boom. Shi Yuan slapped her head with an ah. Sister Xinjie is indeed sharp, seeing through this mechanism with just a glance. The thief star greatly admired her endlessly. It seemed that among the slash marks on the door, putting together a few would form an open character, and along with star energy, these crammed cracks would immediately trigger the mechanism behind the door. Afterwards, this stone door opened. How could she not think of this? The Mo clan mechanism is too clever. If the knowledge star wasn't here, who could solve this? Shi Yuan slapped her stomach, glad. My young master is definitely far smarter than Xinjie. Wu Xinjie stuck out her tongue. Shi Yuan just took it as she being modest, saying, Sister is truly considerate of her own young master. Certain arts have their specialists. I too did not think of this. Su Xing shook his head. Entering the ruin's interior, the thief star activated a Taoist light talisman. This ruin was constructed downwards, so everyone descended along the flight of stairs with the thief star at the front. The flea on a drum's excellent perception of traps and the like could avert the greatest level of encountering danger. They were more scared than hurt as they walked for approximately several incense sticks when everyone then saw a pitch-black cave mouth, a tunnel entrance that passed an unfathomable chill. Unable to see even her fingers, the thief star threw out a Taoist light talisman. Its script fell into the darkness, engulfed without so much as giving a response. Apparently, this cave mouth had been granted an odd forbid dance that made light talismans useless here. Luckily, the thief star had prepared torches. After lighting a few bundles, and Suwen suddenly glanced upon an inscription on the wall. The Great Corridor. 2. Inside is the Great Corridor? Shi Qian cried out in surprise. This place unexpectedly has the Great Corridor. Looks like the Mo attack treasure box really is hidden here. Shi Yuan rubbed her palms in expectation. Su Xing and his group felt suspicious about her shock and even some of her excited expressions. What's the matter? Is this Great Corridor very famous? Su Xing asked Wu Xinjie. The knowledge star thought for a moment. It seems I've heard of this before, the 10 great mechanisms? Sister Xinjie is truly versatile and able, even knowing this. Not going and being a perfect robber is truly a waste. Shi Yuan smiled lightly. In order to learn this mechanical art, she worked her heart out researching the Divine Machine Clan for quite some time. The 10 great mechanisms were the Divine Machine Clan's most formidable peak. Among them was the Great Corridor. Su Xing knew of the Great Wall, but he did not know what this Great Corridor was about. The Great Corridor, as the name implies, is this 10,000 li corridor. No, it could even be millions of li. Shi Yuan explained pompously. 3. What a joke. Lin Yingmei sneered. Constructing a million-li corridor underground, even if it was an annihilation stage star cultivator, they could not possibly accomplish that. Right? This engineering is indeed far more frightening than the Shining Moon Longevity Palace. And Suwen firmly believed this was correct. The Bright Moon Long Life Palace was Liangshan Continent's legendary palace. Reportedly, it was established above the 9 firmaments. Even so, the corridor was not as vast as a million-ling legend has it that during the 100 Deviances Great War, 5, the Divine Machine Clan already used the Great Corridor to trap a transforming star of annihilation cultivator for 9 days and 9 nights. In the end, this cultivator fully used all of his star energy to wreck the Great Corridor until practically nothing was left in order to escape. A transforming star of annihilation cultivator that was, in an instant, the cream of the crop, unable to leave for 9 days and 9 nights, made everyone shiver from the bottom of their hearts. Isn't that equivalent to the Strength 6 Astral Treasure row of portraits upon the Memorial Riverbend? 7. Could mechanical arts be this powerful? Wu Xinjie scoffed. The Divine Machine Clan that seemed truly able to manufacture this sort of mechanism could not have died out. This young lady has also heard of that, Shi Yuan said. Or perhaps it's only a pretense, Lin Yingmei said. There was definitely this possibility. Shi Yuan was still a bit uneasy, but I heard the Great Corridor for sure is in a state of lacking light. Then are you prepared to enter further? Su Xing asked. Shi Yuan patted her full chest, acting as a professional and virtuous robber. It's only natural that this young lady cannot miss such an obviously straightforward mechanism. TSK, then go inside. Su Xing interrupted her lengthy introduction. Do you guys really want to enter? If we're trapped inside, this young lady will definitely not be responsible. The Great Corridor, the Annihilation Cultivator's difficult escape, we definitely differ from that big brother by a length. Shi Yuan very kindly warned, this young lady is fine with being trapped to death, but you have 2 star generals. In Liangshan Continent, you are actually a rare genius. Have you decided? Su Xing asked the 2 girls. As the young master wishes, Lin Yingmei said resolutely. Xinjie does not believe a mechanical art has this sort of amazing power. Wu Xinjie implied she was very interested. Su Xing naturally would not shrink back. Finally, they fixed their gazes onto Suwen. Suwen, how about you wait for us here? Suwen is better off following together with the young master. If the inside has poisonous miasma, Suwen can promptly neutralize it. And Suwen reflected for a moment, and she was not opposed. Ha, ha, you are indeed a fascinating star master. Shi Yuan patted Su Xing's shoulders, laughing heartily, clear and bright. She proceeded to enter the Great Corridor. The rest subsequently also entered, and right after they entered, with a loud bang, the entrance door was immediately sealed completely. The Great Corridor's interior was very peculiar, for it was far wider, far larger than they had imagined. The constructed corridor's floor, ceiling, walls and the likes bricks issued a cacophonic calicolet sound. These stones were just like biting teeth, making the great corridor constantly seem like undulating waves, just like standing on a beach. This was unlike a corridor, rather, it was like the inside of some sort of enormous creature's stomach where every construct was alive. Su Xing felt endlessly amazed, carefully observing for quite a while, yet he was unable to deduce how these bricks operated. This mechanical art is amazing. Truly mysterious how this was done. And Suwen exclaimed. The thief's star Shi Yuan giggled, it's too early to be amazed. This kind of active mechanism, too, is the Divine Machine Clan's most famous mechanical art. If you saw the 10 great mechanical arts rank number 2 Ancient City of War, 3, then wouldn't you be shocked to death? Ancient City of War? There's even something like this? Wu Xinjie was puzzled. The Ancient City of War was the Divine Machine Clan's active mechanical arts pinnacle work. Constructing a type of mobile castle for the purpose of besieging towns and seizing strongholds, it practically appeared to be a god tool that conquered every obstacle. After hearing what they said, Su Xing felt this Divine Machine Clan could be considered specialized scientists in Liangshan continent. The Su Xing who originally felt no interest towards these machine clans could not help but feel curious about their manufacturing capabilities. 5. His thoughts rested on the ancient city of War crossing Liangshan continent, and Su Xing felt this was eye-catching. Since they're this powerful, could they really have made a million-li corridor? And Suwen had some worries. Since we've entered, let's investigate. The million-li corridor better not disappoint this young lady. Shi Yuan was already eager to start. Brimming with a sense of challenge, this thief star completely did not know danger. However, this manner also made Su Xing feel very relieved. Daring to agree to go to the Blooming Watersword sect's guarded secret was not just hot air. A mountaintop in the vicinity of Grindstone Mountain. The man with long hair covering half his face, Gong Su, was currently conversing with his wooden bird. A green light abruptly flew over from the horizon. This green light instantly approached, arriving above him in the blink of an eye. Surprisingly, it was a green willow raft, 6, and the wooden boat was seated to capacity by men and women wearing brown robes, their hands carrying small yellow banners. Standing at the bow of the boat was a lanky figure, a man with a wide-sleeved overcoat draped over him. Spotting Gong Su, he stepped with his foot, vertically dropping the ark downwards, falling onto the surface. Those men and women jumped off one by one, and the ark transformed into a green light that shot into his astral bag. Brother Gong Su, I've waited long. The man laughed. Elder brother Gong Yang. 7? Is it just these people? Gong Su glanced at these disciples. Their cultivations were all stardust late stage, with only a small few having entered nebula stage. 8. I couldn't help delaying Brother Gong Su's plans. The sect master indeed called for the 1,000 disciples nearby. Don't mind that their cultivation is low, they are all Machine Hall's outstanding disciples and seniors. Big Brother definitely rushed the wind-swayed raft. With not the slightest delay. Gong Su nodded. The 1,000 machine gang was located at the Vermilion Bird territory. Being able to rush over this many disciples was not easy. Thank you for your troubles, elder brother. Let's go, then, to prevent a sudden change in the situation. I don't know just what urgent matter this is. On the road, Gong Yang asked him, concerned. It was because Gong Su found the MO attack mechanism records trail that he hurried over to the Azure Dragon territory. Their group of disciples acted as backup ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Hearing of Gong Su's gathering, Gong Yang urged his own supreme-grade artifact, Wind-Swayed Raft, to rush over until it was travel-worn. He was afraid they would not be able to find them, and Gong Yang also worried this matter would be known by the Azure Dragon territory's other sects, otherwise they would have had a thorny problem. Elder brother can relax. This time, your brother wants to hit a huge jackpot. Gong Su lightly smiled, briefly explaining the whole sequence of events, how they found the thief star, and the matter of how they used her to go open the Mo clan ruins. If it is as Brother Gong Su says, could the 3 girls that man is bringing all be star generals? Gong Yang's expression was grim. Elder brother Gong Yang is being silly. How could a Star Master bring 3-star generals? 10th Gong Su smiled. 2-star generals was unimaginable, and 3-star generals was unprecedented in Liangshan's ancient star duels. Gong Su guessed of the 3 girls, only 2 were true star generals since they were able to find the thief star, explaining that among them was a star general that was insignificant, a star maiden without any military strength, and was merely so. The one that worried Gong Su was the girl that grasped a spear and eliminated the mechanical beasts the moment she acted. Within the Star Maidens, those with a spear as their destined weapon often had extraordinary martial prowess. Isn't there still another Star Maiden? The other in the light blue shirt and skirt is probably a maid or such, not worth mentioning. Gong Su was resolute. If Wu Xinjie knew of this, she would likely be angered enough to spit blood. Liangshan's rank number 3 knowledge star had unexpectedly been considered a maid not worth bringing up. However, Gong Su's judgment in this way could not be blamed. Wu Xinjie deliberately behaved that ambiguously towards Su Xing incessantly, so Gong Su could only think as much. A star general that dubiously attended to her own young master's needs was like a star master contracting with 2 star maidens, rare as a phoenix feather. Brother Gong Su, can you be sure? Encountering 3 fiend stars at the same time, Gong Yang was a bit scared and on edge. A gold light floated behind the currently flying sword, and the golden armored girl appeared, bringing an attitude that hardly conceded defeat. As long as this Swa 11 is here, myself will protect young master absolutely safely. Gong Yang laughed. How could he forget his own brother was also a star master that would make others envious? However, elder brother is still a bit unclear. Gong Yang, brother, please speak. Why did you use that thief star to open the mechanism? Could it be that killing her was not as good? Elder brother Gong Yang is somewhat unaware. I fear the Mo clan ruin this time is genuine. Gong Su shook his head. Gong Yang gasped in surprise. That golden armored girl coldly interrupted. I and young master already went in and came across a mechanism before we had no choice but to withdraw. Don't tell me you're saying? The great corridor. Gong Su narrowed his eyes. Gong Yang was frightened. The 1,000 disciples were blood of the former Divine Machine clan after their split. They naturally knew about the great corridor's might, and if the sect master came, even the sect master would consider this carefully. Then what we fear is going and making a trip in vain. They are unable to escape. At that time, elder brother and I will go pick up the basket, ha. 12. Gong Su laughed facing the wind, his long hair dancing in the breeze. The girl standing behind him did not utter a word, that golden pupil looking pensive, brimming with gravitas. Meanwhile, Su Xing, Shi Yuan and the rest at last tasted the great corridor mechanism's might. 3 days. They traveled in this corridor without rest for at least 3 days. During this time, there were innumerable stairs passing through up and down. Every time, it led them to believe they had glimpsed hope, yet every time, there was an endless corridor. At the very beginning, An Suwen and Wu Xinjie were even very interested and admired these moving stairs that were like waves. As time elapsed, they had already lost their spirits. Seeing those wriggling walls and floors made them feel disgusted, wishing that they could shatter this corridor with a kick. Walking for quite a while, everyone again sunk down to rest. Continuing to walk like this without rest was indeed somewhat physically and mentally exhausting. Even Shi Yuan felt impatient, and the thief star had been somewhat enthusiastic. Having already lost her interest in researching the great corridor, her entire head right now was thinking evil thoughts. How could this world have people so disgusting that they would construct a corridor without an end? This young lady wants to run into a wall. We've already gone 3 days without an end. This is basically a prison. This young lady is disgusted to death. Shi Yuan said, disgusted. 13. If they were not star generals, with their special natural constitutions, they would have else starved and thirsted to death in this corridor. Lin Ningmei struck the wall. These walls had yet to stop squirming due to being granted some sort of forbid dance. With their current strength, it was hard to damage. Could it be that they really were trapped in this place like that transforming star of annihilation cultivator? Thinking of this sort of possibility, Lin Mei shuddered with fear. She instinctively went to see her young master. With a look, the majestic star then tightly pursed her lips. Su Xing at the moment was currently whispering beside Insuwen's mouth. Within the feeble firelight, she saw the divine physician's face was red, through and through. That was called a dandy's leisure. 1. Onomatopoeia for clacking right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Hey guys, Hal called. He wants his castle back. Right arrow curving left 5. I think he wants his jet back, Giri Giri AI, Ikenai borderline, right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Right arrow curving left 8. You're about to get fucked, baby. Black Lagoon right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. Congratulations, we have a new winner for the prize of having his mind blown. Right arrow curving left 11. Well, that's a peculiar name. Right arrow curving left 12. He just means he'll make an easy catch. Right arrow curving left 13. Yes, we get you're disgusted. Please choose a synonym. Right arrow curving left 14. Right arrow curving left 15. And there you have it. It seems he truly is depraved. Sister Xinjie, you said how could people have really constructed such a long corridor underground? Shi Yuan squatted where she was, hanging her head in dejection. When we entered, a certain someone seemed to have said she liked this sort of obvious and straightforward mechanism the most. Wu Xinjie said in ridicule. The thief star's mouth sank. This is absolutely not a mechanism at all. As long as you know. Wu Xinjie gazed at this strange great corridor, always feeling something was slightly off. Constructing a several million li corridor underground was simply impossible to accomplish, but continuously walking for this many days yet not seeing the end, it seemed as if they had entered into a clump of fog. The knowledge star vaguely felt that this place definitely had some sort of difficult-to-solve oddity, but she honestly could not think of just there the problem was. Wu Xinjie spotted Lin Mei staring wordlessly at Su Xing smiling inwardly. She elegantly walked over. Young master, what were you and little sister Suwen secretly talking about? Only borrowing Suwen's spice bag for a bit? Su Xing chuckled. All this time, young master still really has a feeling of leisure. If young master is really depressed, you could have sought Xinjie. Xinjie is also very tired and bored. The knowledge star was like a water snake, climbing onto Su Xing's shoulder. Sticking out her tongue, slightly panting, whispering, Young Master Su Xing, do you know what is going on with this great corridor? Xinjie feels there are some oddities. I more or less have a clue. Then this time, I really need to make a request of young master. Wu Xinjie abruptly moved her head very close. Her beautiful and sensual red lips kissed on top of Su Xing's mouth, a fiery and arousing kiss. 2. The Insuan who was right to the side was dumbstruck. Her face red, she backed a few steps away from the two, lowering her head. The heated kiss ended, and within the firelight, Wu Xinjie's luminous, 3 pupils floated around, full of tender feelings. They were brimming with a sentiment that would make people restless. What are you guys doing? Shi Yuan cried out in alarm. Wu Xinjie gave her a healthy look. Never seen a kiss before? Knowledge star, you unexpectedly, the thief star almost shrieked. The resourceful star unexpectedly would so boldly kiss with a man. This was completely beyond her expectations. Sister Lin Mei, she originally had wanted to go inquire with the majestic star, but the latter's attitude made her even more unable to conceal her shock. The panther head seemed to have grown accustomed to this sort of situation and was aloof. The opposite looked at Wu Xinjie and Su Xing's heated kiss, a bit of jealousy within her eyes. We had better leave this place first then. Lin Mei's face expressionlessly interrupted her. The majestic star looked around this wriggling corridor, her eyes deeply locked. This great corridor is extremely strange. We'd best move quickly. Walk here, walk there, it's all the same. Too annoying. When the great corridor was mentioned, Shi Yuan immediately became like deflated ball, dispirited. This kind of great corridor mechanism was completely different from what she thought. She originally believed the interior concealed an array, charm, or the like. As it turned out, not only was it missing this, Even the most simple pitfall mechanisms were not seen. From start to finish, they only saw the surrounding walls moving. Let's go. We can find the exit in just a moment, Su Xing said to her. The thief's star twitched her mouth. If she were to believe in an unfaithful man that seduced Sister Suwen and even passionately kissed with the knowledge star, then that really was too stupid. If young master says we're at the exit, then we'll definitely arrive at the exit soon. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth as she laughed up her sleeve. Shi Yuan pouted and blurted out a few noises. She seemed to be saying, as expected, even if it is the knowledge star, a woman in love is blind. The man and 4 women in the pitch-black corridor again continued to walk forward for a while. It was not at all like what Su Xing said about seeing the exit. On the contrary, the endless darkness was still unending, giving a person a sort of suffocating oppression. This corridor seemed to never stop and was endless, and the thief's star, flea on a drum Shirqian, was already about to give up and stop trying. Incessantly complaining, the best thief under heaven unexpectedly was about to be trapped to death in here. Truly an unfitting death. Suddenly, Su Xing ceased moving forward, facing his head upward as he sniffed in the air, showing an expression of clear understanding and relief. Master? Young master? The rest were puzzled. Indeed, this great corridor is very fascinating, so it's no wonder Xinjie was deceived as well. The one who invented this was truly amazing. Su Xing laughed. Wu Xinjie and Lin Yingmei glanced at each other face to face, a smile flitting across the corner of their mouths coincidentally at the same time. They were fully aware of Su Xing's character, knowing if he said as such, then that meant yet another unfathomable puzzle had been solved. Young master, in the end, what is going on with this great corridor? Lin Yingmei could not help but ask. I see this 10,000 li corridor is the 10 li corridor, more or less. 10 li corridor? All the girls' faces showed doubt. Su Xing, you definitely have been choked mad. Shi Yuan disdained. We've walked this many days, several thousand li have already been covered. We're only repeatedly walking the same road. Su Xing shook his head. Are you saying this corridor is circular? Shi Yuan was powerless. We aren't idiots. If it really was a circular corridor, then we already would have felt it. Su Xing knew his explanation was rather long, so he summarized. Just now, I borrowed Suwen's spice bag, intentionally saturating the air with its fragrance. It's reasonable to say that if we aren't walking the same road, these aromas could not possibly show up. However, Su Xing sniffed. The girls moved closer and sure enough, they smelled a faint burst of sandalwood. A coincidence? Shi Yuan said blankly. It's not a coincidence. We definitely have been walking the same road, and you'd understand if you think about it. Building the great corridor underground, how could the Ink clan possibly have such a great remarkable ability, so the simplest method is to join a corridor from head to tail and let us walk on endlessly. Su Xing gestured, the girl blinked. She could not conceive how they could arrange interconnecting paths yet not letting them perceive it. Su Xing thought for a bit and just took out a talisman, and then he tore the talisman into a rectangle. He turned a short end around 180 degrees behind and stuck it together with the other short end, thereby forming an 8-shaped loop. The girls were amazed to discover this originally completely unlinked paper had its 2 sides inconceivably linked together. So mysterious, and Suwen cried out in surprise. Su Xing, how did you come up with this? Shi Yuan asked, astonished. The Mobius strip. 5? Su Xing shrugged his shoulders. It appeared mysterious, but on Earth, it was actually very well known. It had a special, formal name, Mobius strip. It was a topological structure, and anyone with a bit of math education knew about it. The Mobius strip was a sort of space partition without an interior or exterior, namely, its front side had a back side, and its back side had a front side. It's like a yin and yang mixing process, truly hard to believe. Wu Xinjie gasped in admiration. With this sort of mechanism that exploited mathematical principles in its design, it was only normal that Wu Xinjie could not guess through this mechanism. But could only this much really make us blindly walk for 3 days? Shi Yuan was suspicious. And so, this was the great corridor's true nature. Its active walls and floors were not to show off the corridor's strangeness, but to change the surrounding environment. On a Mobius strip, the link had a crossing. Exploiting this active mechanism to manufacture differing degrees of elevation, doing it in this way would not make people feel they were repeating. The active floor also had the advantage of preventing a person from making a seal, because no matter who continuously walked for several days, they would all give birth to the feeling of making no headway. If a seal was written down, these active walls would then thoroughly erase these seals' existences. So, young master, just now when you and little sister Suwon were speaking, is it because you made your seal in the air that it was not destroyed? Lin Yingmei had an epiphany. 6. Su Xing nodded. Not only that, but the mechanism's light-deprived state was also meant to make those entering lose their sense of direction. Inside darkness, humans' perception was most easily lost, and divine intent had no way of preventing this. Originally I thought, strange, since this was a mechanism meant to hurt people, why specially arrange this? This is exactly for the purpose of giving those that enter a certain psychological suggestion, making them believe the corridor inside definitely has 10,000 li, thereby lowering their guard. Shi Yuan's face turned red. She felt that Su Xing was talking about her, and she said in denial, psychological suggestion what? This young lady has never heard of that. However, since you say it with such certainty, then where is the exit? This place definitely has an exit, so don't say there isn't. This young lady investigated clearly. After we pass this corridor is the plaza, but we currently haven't seen the exit at all. I'm afraid the exit is exactly where we came in. Su Xing wrinkled his brow tightly. His words left the girls feeling more and more wonder. Su Xing's explanation was because this corridor was created following a special rock and forbid dance amalgamation, making a breakthrough required maximum power. According to his theory, this Mobius Great Corridor was interlocking loops. It was impossible to incorporate an exit, so the sole possibility was the rumbling door from when they just entered. That should be the only exit. Shi Yuan was confused, mulling over this for so long, we just need to go back. Nope. If these walls can move around, then that mechanism can move, too. Su Xing said to them, let's search for it. Together with that sealed stone door from when we came in, there must be the exit. Everyone immediately busily searched within the great corridor. As expected, not long after, Lin Yingmei found this mechanism inside a moving rock. This stone door moved just as Su Xing said. A mobile exit, no wonder they could not find it after walking for such a long time. Pushing hard on the stone door opened with a rumble. However, outside the door was thick soil, and the stone beneath was endlessly changing. It seemed the entire great corridor was active. Everyone just waited outside the stone door. In the empty space beneath, a space sunk in, and Su Xing gave the order to jump. They afterwards dropped down from above. By the time they were firmly on the ground, they knew at a glance that they already truly walked out of the corridor, arriving atop a plaza. Su Xing raised his head, giving endless praise. This mechanism was honestly too awesome. Sister Xinjie, could it be he is truly far more incredible than you? Shi Yuan blankly asked. It's only psychological riddles and such that I'm good at, nothing more. Incredible is out of the question. Su Xen shook his head as he said calmly. Shi Yuan fearfully looked at Su Xing. What holy land do you come from, even being able to solve this sort of mechanism? Recalling right now about the Mobius strip and the psychological suggestion things he spoke of, these were terms she had never heard of. As long as you follow young master, you will discover young master is even greater than what you think. Wu Xinjie said very ambiguously. This young lady is actually a little tempted. Pity that the young master won't favor star generals like us, right, Sister Suwon? Shi Yuan placed both her hands against the back of her head, sticking out her towering chest as she stretched her body. And Suwon lightly smiled and went, there isn't any sort of favor or disfavor. I don't like your star duels that much either. Su Xing shook his head, earnestly speaking. Suddenly, I feel a bit envious of my sisters. Hearing Su Xing's words, Shi Yuan giggled. The ruins plaza released tremors that were like an earthquake's. A massive fist blew a deep hole into the wall with a rumble, and Su Xing, Lin Mei and the others loudly dispersed as rubble violently shot out, filling the sky and splashing. A 3 zhang tall, its entire body made from copper, massive mechanical machine man swung its heavy fists. The sound of scraping metal resounded in this big of a cavern. A copper man puppet, one of the Divine Machine Clan's 10 great machine arts. They did not think on this plaza there suddenly would be this terrifying mechanical doll. The destructive power of that fist perhaps would not be dared received directly by Nebula Stage Star cultivators. The Copper Man puppet guarding the outside of the shrine was awakened as they stepped inside the boundaries of the shrine. Because there was not anyone to control it, the Copper Man puppet's attacks were utterly crazy, seemingly adding more strength than it had done in the past. Wu Xinjie and Ensuan promptly evaded already while Su Xing and Lin Mei assumed the role of attracting the Copper Man puppet's attention. The thief Star Shiyuan was actually like a fish back in water among the attacks. While the Copper Man puppet's attack power was formidable, conversely, the speed was relatively sluggish. Her light movements body techniques were sufficient to sidestep away. You guys hold off this Copper Man first. I'll first go search out the things that controls this Copper Man. Shiyuan yelled among her dodges. With a flip, she dropped onto the Copper Man puppet's arm. Then, she leapt and flashed across, thereby breaking through the Copper Man puppet's obstruction. The Copper Man puppet had thought of turning around and attacking her, but Su Xing and Lin Mei's attacks had already contained it. SFX, resounding noise. The hardness of the Copper Man's armor plating was far beyond expectations as artifacts could only pound tiny dents into it, which was not much at all. You'd better be quick, Su Xing said to himself. Its twinkling pair of red eyes swept around, and the Copper Man puppet slowly turned to face Su Xing's direction. The ear-piercing sound of metallic scraping violently resounded as it already stepped over with large strides. Its tremendous body possessed a frightening weight with every step causing the earth to shake. This cavern's rocks were shook down, clattering, almost as if it collapsed at any time. Will something happen to the young master? And Suwen anxiously asked. Wu Xinjie broke into laughter, feeling that the efficacious star was more concerned than herself was. Lin Chong is here, so nothing will happen. However, I truly did not think that this place would even have a Copper Man puppet. The firebolt sword's fire lightning was only slightly obstructing the Copper Man puppet's pace, and the explosive lightning fire merely gave rise to a depression, almost like scratching an itch. Seeing the artifact's attack, Su Xing again tried to use close-quarters attacks, which was also a completely lacking method. His expression was completely cold. Su Xing had a kind of helpless feeling against this sort of extremely hard mechanical doll. It was not the same as fighting a star cultivator. This Copper Man puppet's exoskeleton had been refined with steel rebar-like bones. Ordinary magic power basically was incapable of penetrating it. It practically was an exceedingly hard-to-chew bone. The sound of a touch. Lin Mei blocked with her spear horizontally, directly resisting the Copper Man puppet's heavy fist. The majestic star's face did not change expressions as the ground beneath her feet split into cracks in an instant. A strong whirlwind gave Su Xing no choice but to retreat a few steps. Seemingly like a fiery star soaring through the air, by means of the immense recoil, she had already fiercely rushed upwards. The powerful strength brought with it an extreme speed, and the spear light transformed into a cold line shooting straight up. Ignoring the Copper Man puppet's immense oppressive feeling, Lin Mei's eyes shot forth a cold light. The Arctic Star's spear stabbed onto the Copper Man puppet's knee with a thrust. SFX, resounding noise. The destined star weapon unexpectedly also could not make contact. This made Lin Mei somewhat surprised, but the girl's attack was not ineffective. The spear point's force could not penetrate the Copper Man's defenses, but actually, this Copper Man puppet staggered backwards as it fell back towards the rear. During its retreating footfalls, the entire earth just seemed to be in an earthquake, incessantly shaking and rolling out chunks of mud. The Copper Man puppet's retreat rapidly halted, and its enormous hardly even received any damage. Rocking its lower body, it again proceeded to start approaching towards Lin Mei. The sound of that huge body's insides moving became even more loud and clear, making anyone's hair stand on end. And Suwen at the rear definitely was not like Wu Xinjie showing such calmness. Seeing even the panther head Lin Chong unable to penetrate the Copper Man puppet's obstruction, she actually was very worried. "How is it?" Su Xing asked from within the storm raised by the Copper Man puppet. Lin Yingmei's hair floated, her windbreaker-style skirt moving to and fro in the wind. She nodded. "Killing it is not a problem. Sure, Yuan said we needed to hold it off. Let's see first what she'll do." Su Xing replied. "Let's go together." Under Suwen's gaze, Su Xing and Lin Yingmei once again faced off against that Copper Man puppet, attacking like a meteor catching up with the moon. The expression upon her face was conspicuously relaxed. Within the ear-piercing noise, a massive fist already ruthlessly crushed towards Su Xing. The immense wind pressure even made Su Xing's short hair perk up. The surrounding dust had been immediately blown in every direction and rose upwards, showing the blow's formidable might. Its speed unexpectedly was faster by a degree, directly booming before Su Xing's eyes. And Suwen's heart had suddenly been seized tight. SFX, bang! The cavern shook violently as if there was an earthquake. Inside the pervasive dust and smoke, a shield blocking Su Xing's front had obstructed this fist of the Copper Man puppet. The shark scale shield had been severely damaged in the Flower Dragon Hall by the blooming water dragon. These days, it barely recovered by a bit, but the Copper Man puppet's fist was truly difficult to endure. The high-grade artifact was simply on the verge of collapse, almost making Su Xing vomit blood. He promptly hastened through seals, and the shark claw hook directly grappled the Copper Man puppet's arm. Following along that hook that was like a swing, it pulled Lin Yingmei in order for her to move up. The girl seized the opportunity to leap up several dozen zhang. The majestic star clutched her cold spear, a cold light flowing everywhere. This time, she condensed her star energy into the spear, aiming it at the Copper Man puppet's weakest neck location. Just at this moment, from the air sounded out a quick and skillful incantation. "Transform to my shape, for the sake of my use, heaven and earth of the universe. I order you, golden body, return." The Copper Man puppet's two eyes abruptly extinguished, and then its body inexplicably disappeared into thin air. Lin Yingmei went blank, her attack falling into empty space. She backwards into the air, floating downwards and landing on the ground. Su Xing also descended to the ground, looking with Lin Yingmei at each other in dismay. How could such a large doll disappear when told to? Xinjie said that nothing would happen. Lin Yingmei can oppose this kind of mechanism with enough to spare. Wu Xinjie smiled at Suwen and walked up afterwards. Shi Yuan wiped her cold sweat with a sigh. Powerlessly looking at Su Xing and Lin Ying, this Copper Man was almost ruined by you too. You received it? Shi Yuan's hand now had in it a copper-colored small banner. An array was carved onto the banner. Just now, it was Shi Yuan reading an incantation and driving the small banner that this Copper Man would disappear. Shi Yuan smiled craftily. A Copper Man puppet without divine intent controlling it, with such a prize, this young lady not receiving it would be too unfortunate. She shook the banner in her hand, and a gold-colored light subsequently appeared before her eyes. That Copper Man puppet again stood straight on the plaza. The difference was that it was already being controlled by the thief star's divine intent. Little sister Shi Yuan truly picked up a great convenience, Wu Xinjie giggled. Su Xing also indifferently smiled. Soon after, the thief star continuously received 3 more Copper Man puppets. Her way of subduing them was very simple. When these Copper Man puppets were manufactured, they necessarily had a puppet banner control. Shi Yuan merely found these puppet banners and carved down her own divine intent to finish. It was seriously very easy, and with no effort at all, she possessed 4 powerful Copper Man puppets. As for Su Xing and Lin Yingmei's assumed mission to stop these Copper Man puppets, even if Su Xing wanted to receive on for testing, in the field of searching for a puppet banner, compared with the thief star's that sort of excellent item search and stealing methods, he could only have no alternative but to look at the thief and sigh. 1. Passing the plaza, soon afterwards was the Mo clan ruins terminus, a spectacular hall. Originally, Su Xing had thought the very end would definitely still have some even more extreme mechanism waiting for them. However, it seemed that his worry was unnecessary. Perhaps the Mo clan really had too much confidence in the twin insurances of that great corridor and Copperman puppet, for the final hall had its door pushed open as easily as blowing off dust. Inside was an immense room with not a single thing in sight. Surveying what they saw, it was clean except for dust. However, this was not the first time Su Xing saw this kind of puzzle. His first reaction was that this empty and bankrupt hall had an oddity, and he spoke his opinion. The thief's star flea on a drum's face revealed a strange smile. She had also thought of this. You underlings just wait here for this young lady to triumphantly return with her arms filled with loot. Shi Yuan was full of confidence. And Su Wen was puzzled and could not understand. This place looks like it doesn't have anything at all. I'm afraid that some mechanism may be concealed here as well. Wu Xinjie guessed. It was just that if that was true, this would make things more difficult. The room was excessively huge without a single decoration. The knowledge star only just thought of stepping in and entering when Shi Yuan shouted, "Stay still." What now? Wu Xinjie's leg was suspended in midair before she drew it back. This place has a trap. It will suffice for you to wait here for this young lady. Shi Yuan wrinkled her nose. It did not seem she was joking. Knowing the power of the thief star's stealing arts, the knowledge star did not retort. Only not meeting unexpected failure is good. Hehe. Shi Yuan entered suddenly with a big stride forward, and it was just when she stepped into the hall that they heard a crashing din akin to a torrential downpour. The room's floor unexpectedly and inconceivably fell downwards, as if the entire room was suspended above the 9 hells. The falling slab dazzlingly rose then fell again and again such that it was difficult to discern whether this was reality or an illusion. If one was slightly careless, then possibly they could lose their footing and fall into the 9 hells, an end that perhaps was not any better. Falling soul pool array. Wu Xinjie was surprised, having not thought the final mechanism unexpectedly contained a powerful array. This array would make intruders stay above the 9 hells as the floor would move up and down like an illusion. Within the blink of an eye, the final form was the falling soul pool. In case an intruder was above the falling soul pool, then that truly was tantamount to escaping from within a calamity. The only way out was precisely to find the proper petal. Su Xing's expression changed. This mechanism was terrifying, and he was unable to take his eyes off Shi Yuan. The girl withdrew her frivolous attitude. At this moment, her expression was grave and stern. They did not dare to take a big breath. Why doesn't little sister Shi Yuan hurry and rush past it? And Su Wen asked nervously. Since this sort of mixed array mechanism could be established in this place, then it definitely would not give intruders the time to get through. Su Xing said. Shi Yuan was evidently fully aware of this point. The room's floor rapid disappearance arose, and it was at this time that the thief star's figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, a pitch-black abyss then appeared in the room. Shi Yuan luckily stood atop a slab of rock. Wu Xinjie could not help but cry out in surprise, for this was truly too dangerous. Shi Yuan broke into a smiling expression and even very leisurely waved her hand. After a brief moment, the falling soul pool continued to move. Shi Yuan's figure hid, and at that disappearing and reappearing floor, she used a perfect stance to push through. With eyes like swift lightning, steps like a shooting star, and another fleeting moment, the abyss once again took shape. Shi Yuan also found another safe rock. Su Xing could not help but admire her. Proving herself the thief star, her posture was nimble, her judgment of opportunities not fussy, and her timing did not stir up any traps. Su Xing took note that the room's 2 sides had countless holes. Perhaps these would shoot out thousands of arrows all at once. Shi Yuan was inside the falling soul pool array, relying on every change to slowly move forward. Looking around, she had already crossed half the room. And Su Wen's heart had risen to her throat. She could not help but grasp firmly Su Xing's hand. Seeing her this nervous, Wu Xinjie comforted her. Little sister Su Wen, there is no need to be this worried. The falling soul pool array is only an array to trap people. There won't be any sort of injuries. If Shi Qian was truly trapped, We only need to fish her up. But we have to pass through this mechanism all the same, right? Hee, our young master doesn't fear this at all. Su Xing nodded and answered. Actually, his heart did not have much confidence. The Mo clan's sophisticated minds designed the three mechanisms: Great Corridor, Copperman Puppet, and the Falling Soul Pool. If it was not for his happening to know a bit about the Mobius strip or the Thief Star's incomparable stealing arts, the result perhaps was indeed hard to say. Looks like Shi Yuan going to steal the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique definitely would not have problems. Wu Xinjie smiled. Needless to say, in a moment, the Thief Star soon afterwards hopped onto that platform. The falling mixing pool array, 3, then immediately disappeared. Shi Yuan searched for a moment atop that several square meter platform, and it was not long that she used her hand to press a slate. Hearing the sound of rocks loosening, it seemed she found a secret compartment. Shi Yuan then took from inside the secret compartment a dark gold box, carefully scrutinizing it some. Showing a perfectly satisfied expression, it seemed she had already found the item she was seeking. Then, throwing it towards her astral gem, Shi Yuan also saw 2 black banners in the vicinity. These ought to be the flags manipulating the array. Shi Yuan snorted, and releasing her hoodwinking flying claws, she broke apart the array banners. The falling soul pool stopped. The inside of the room suddenly released a trembling noise. Su Xing looked and damn, from that room's densely packed holes resounded song. "Let's hurry and leave," he immediately said. Wu Xinjie and Ensuin very quickly withdrew from the room. Tens of thousands of sharp swords shot over like a torrential rain. Shi Yuan leapt and spun, her hoodwinking flying claws cut out an arc that deflected the attacking swords. Su Xing struck a hand seal, releasing the shark scale shield to help protect her body. Lin Yingmei also had her cold spear in hand, chopping forth a spear light that swept apart the attacking swords. Those 10,000 sharp swords seemed vicious, but a star maiden would not see it as posing a threat. Very quickly, Shi Yuan returned to Su Xing's side, and the 3 people individually retreated. Sitting atop the plaza, Shi Yuan wiped her fragrant perspiration and laughed mightily. Just what did you come to the Mo clan to find? Why is there this powerful array mechanism? Wu Xinjie frowned. She was thinking the same as Su Xing. These 3 mechanisms basically could not be crossed if other people were substituted. Of course it was this. The dark gold box appeared upon Shi Yuan's hand. 5 old characters, Mo attack mechanism records, were bold and powerful. The box also had a small mechanism, but Shi Yuan very effortlessly solved and opened it. Inside was a black-colored strip of jade. Mo attack mechanism records? Shi Yuan nodded. It recorded many of the Mo clan's powerful mechanisms. Wu Xinjie exposed as expected, "You want to manufacture mechanical beasts," expression. Thinking about it made it obvious. For the average fighting strength thief star that wanted to protect herself in a star duel, the best way was to expand her own strength. Controlling mechanical beasts was a wise choice, but the knowledge star only felt that this was merely a cup of water on a burning cart. Nothing more. When in the future, a few star generals increased their cultivation alongside their contractors, when star energy increasingly strengthened, a few more mechanical beasts would be meaningless. Of course, using these mechanical beasts to bully star cultivators was still quite satisfying. Since you found it, let's leave this place first, then. Seeing Shi Yuan having obtained what she sought, Su Xing very much looked forward to the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique. "The young master's matter, you won't regret this?" Lin Yingmei said. Shi Yuan patted her chest. "This young lady remarks, a team of 4 horses is hard to chase." Emerging from the Mo clan ruins, the time of day was already dusk. "Tomorrow I will help you steal that Blooming Water Divine Thunder thing." The thief star's mood was very good. Su Xing's party of people was just about to descend the mountain when, at this time, they saw an unidentified, long-haired man sitting upon a large rock not far from the entrance. Seeing Su Xing and the others, his eyes exposed a trace of alarm. He rose with his eyes squinting and smiling as a golden-armored short coat and long-skirted girl jumped down from atop a tree, standing beside the man. That pair of firm and chilling pupils was brimming with a lion's pride. One look was enough to see they were not ordinary people. Shi Yuan and the others' discussing voices gradually ceased. Lin Ning kept close to Su Xing, staring at that golden-armored girl, showing a cautious expression. At last, you've come out. Your acquaintance is Gong Su. The man squinted and smiled as he introduced himself, his eyes indistinctly glancing at Shi Qian. This subtle action was revealed within Su Xing's eyes. This man looked to be here for the thief star. Surreptitiously giving Wu Xinjie a few words and making Shi Yuan a bit nervous, he said with a smile on his face, "Is something the matter? The Star General is you, isn't it?" The golden-armored girl stared at Lin Ningmei, advancing forwards a few steps. Waving her empty hand, a golden light flashed, followed by a long sword with a Buddhist swastika appearing in her hand. The girl's forehead twinkled a light yellow astral crest. As expected, she was a Star General. Vajra's evil smiting sword. 2. Shi Yuan shouted. It's the Devil Star, giant in the clouds, Song 1. 3. Since we're all Star Masters, wouldn't it be better to let us enter a star duel with this matchup? Gong Su beamed from ear to ear. Must we fight? Su Xing knitted his brow. Gong Su nodded his head. The Devil Star giant in the clouds evoked a slightly provoking smile, already approaching on the attack with meteoric strides. How could Lin Ning be courteous? The Arctic Star spear revealed its point, fighting at a fast pace with that Vajra's evil smiting sword. Su Xing was secretly on the alert but discovered this nebula late-stage Star Master Gong Su, standing motionless at his original spot with a smiling face similar to a Buddha's, had not the least bit of intent to act, just watching calmly as his Star General and Lin Chong dueled together. Generally speaking, killing a Star Master in a star duel always was more convenient than killing a Star General. Seeing him staying his hand, Su Xing also did not make move. As far as Lin Ningmei was concerned, he still had much confidence in her. The Arctic Star spear suddenly thrusted, just like a hot knife through butter, and Song 1 raised her Vajra's sword horizontally to block. Su Xing inwardly said that she was still truly naive. Relying on Lin Ningmei's strength, this spear absolutely could repel her, and soon, the follow-up killing moves could easily make her receive injuries. SFX, clang clank. The spear point directly stabbed onto the Vajra's sword but firmly blocked Lin Ningmei's full power thrust without breaking. The giant in the clouds cruelly smiled, suddenly lunging forward with her sword slashing horizontally, actually jolting away Lin Ningmei 3 chi. Arctic Star Spear. Surprisingly, it's Lin Chong. Ah, the young girl howled with laughter. The tranquil Gong Su also abruptly changed expressions. What? That is the majestic star, the panther head? I never thought that Lin Chong unexpectedly would also sign a contract. This is indeed unprecedented. Song 1 grasped her sword with one hand. Upon the side of the Vajra's sword flashed a golden-colored starlight. Lin Chong, be careful. That Vajra's sword is already a one-star destined weapon. Wu Xinjie said gravely. So that was the Star General's sought-after star-graded star weapon? Su Xing secretly sized it up in a glance. The knowledge star used her Huangjie magic, think then act. Her eyes sent out a radiant light, and immediately, the Devil Star's battle strength level and realm was revealed without doubt. What Wu Xinjie did not expect was that the Devil Star had already entered Heavenly Clothes. 5. It's a Heavenly Clothes realm earthly star. Wu Xinjie warned. Be careful of her Huangjie tactics. Based on the Star General's own fighting capabilities, it was altogether divided into the 7 realms: Heartbeat, Heavenly Clothes, 1,000 Militaries, 10,000 Techniques, Matchless, Extreme Realm and True Phoenix. 6. Although the Devil Star was only a Heavenly Clothes, which was slightly inferior to Lin Ningmei's 1,000 Militaries, possessing a 1-star destined star weapon meant that in terms of power, she was not the least bit inferior to Lin Ningmei. Lin Ningmei nodded her head, her expression unchanged. Even if you are Lin Chong, I'll still make you dead. The giant in the clouds' arm raised her Vajra's sword behind her, and countless 7 symbols radiated forth from the Vajra's sword. The sword light warped just like a Buddhist mantra, It was obvious she was preparing to use her Huangjie sword stroke. Lin Yingmei immediately broke off her attack. A golden light suddenly shot towards the young girl, and Lin Yingmei blocked with her spear point. That gold light abruptly scattered in midair. Go! And Gong Su no longer dared to watch with folded arms, immediately taking action. A golden flying sword transformed into a large golden threaded net that rushed to go cover up Lin Yingmei. Fire lightning shot onto the net with a boom, bringing it down. It happened to be Su Xing's firebolt sword. Su Xing effortlessly raised it, and the sword turned into fire lightning that flew towards Song Wan. At this time, the Star Maidens and Star Masters' contractual superiority manifested. Gong Su formed hand seals, and the astral crest on her forehead immediately flickered. Obtaining her contractor's star energy that he imparted, the giant in the clouds Song Wan's Huangjie sword technique then rapidly shot out. Great Wisdom King Cleave. 8. The young girl coldly shouted, and the Vajra's sword seemed to play the song of 10,000 Buddhas. As the sword pierced through, a grand and imposing sword chi from the sword linked together with the entire grindstone mountain. Lin Yingmei defended with her spear, and Su Xing called out the shark scale shield. The deep and resounding sword chi directly exploded on the high-grade artifact shark scale shield, and Su Xing immediately felt his throat fill with blood. The Devil Star smiled a savage and toothy grin. After thrusting with great wisdom King Cleave, she seized the opportunity to launch an attack, suddenly arriving before Su Xing's eyes. The Vajra's sword slashed and shattered the already spent shark scale shield. 9. And a cold light stabbed towards Su Xing's stomach. Su Xing did not hide the hand seals he formed, and the firebolt sword shot out at the same time. With a delicate cry, the giant in the clouds heavily suffered heavenly lightning tremors one after another as she flew several dozens of meters away. Su Xing did not fare as well, for an acute pain washed over from his stomach. The golden thread fish scale armor had been unexpectedly punctured open. Just as Song Wan was being shaken back, a figure flew out. It was Lin Yingmei, raising her spear and sweeping it over. The Devil Star had her own Star Master. Gong Su shot 2 golden wheels that pincered from the left and right, obstructing Lin Yingmei's sudden stab. Subsequently, mobilizing his star energy, the shot-down golden net once again took to the skies. Lin Yingmei's feet stepped on the 2 golden wheels, somersaulting backwards to avoid the golden net. Accept death. Gong Su all of a sudden blew a long whistle, letting the 1,000 machine disciples that lay in wait in advance seize the opportunity to attack Lin Chong. Dozens of cold lights flew out from within the forest, but they flew towards him. Upon seeing this, Gong Su hastily emitted star energy, blocking those flying needles. These flying needles were not ordinary artifacts. Gong Su saw the opportunity to raise his sleeve, and a mechanical bird flew out and blocked all of those flying needles. Note, can you guys guess who fired these needles? Elder brother Gong Yang. What's happening? Both Gong Su and Song Wan were alarmed. The forest loudly collapsed as 2 immense copper men trampled recklessly in the woods. Those mechanical beasts that were ready to ambush had been stepped on and shattered. The 1,000 machine disciples underneath the copper men also fled and dispersed in every direction. Ordinary artifacts completely did not have any way of penetrating the copper men's defenses. Copper man puppets. How could she have this sort of puppet? Brother, our ambush had been detected. Gong Yang ran before him, battered and exhausted. Heh, playing ambush in front of the knowledge star, is a bit too naive. Wu Xinjie stood on a copper man puppet's shoulder, smiling coldly. On the other side, the thief Star Shi Yuan was currently mobilizing the puppet flags. The 4 Copperman puppets caught these troops lying in wait for an ambush unprepared. The 1,000 machine gang's casualties were disastrous. Gong Su went blank. Discovering that the young girls that originally should have been standing in front of him were already gone, it was clear the opposition was insulting the great wisdom King Cleave's might by conducting a stealthy flank to behind them. The knowledge star. Impossible. Gong Su stared at Su Xing, stunned. Unexpectedly, it was 2 top-notch star generals at his side. Just what kind of person are you? Turning his eyes, the the Thousand Machine Gang's superiority was completely obliterated. Gong Su said angrily, "Jiar, you go impede Lin Chong. I and elder brother will get rid of her master." The Devil Star Song Jia once again raised the Vajra sword. A sword light rippled, and 10,000 words altogether cried out. Again, it was a great wisdom king cleave that separated Lin Mei and Su Xing. "Don't mind me." Su Xing left this phrase and pulled Silverblade's trigger. 6 thunder fire bullets exited the barrel, launching in succession with whooshes. Gong Su and Gong Yang waved their sleeves and blew away the thunder fire bullets. Against Nebula late-stage star cultivators, the thunder fire bullets could only interfere with them for a moment, but this precisely was the result Su Xing wanted. Availing himself that number of seconds, Su Xing had already used the chaotic tail escape. Fleeing in a flash to the front of Gong Su, Su Xing stabbed Silverblade towards him. Against 2 Nebula late-stage cultivators, no matter how much more confidence he had, Su Xing knew that joining together artifacts had absolutely no odds of success. His only solution was to get close to them and obstruct their use of artifacts in order to handle them. For this reason, Su Xing even let himself be injured to easily use the chaotic tail escape. Gong Su was greatly startled. How could he anticipate that Su Xing would be so brazen, going so far as to dare take on 2 Nebula late-stage star cultivators by himself? However, his divine intent was still extremely dauntless, practically already sensing Su Xing when he escaped here. His body immediately ducked to evade, and Silverblade directly penetrated into his shoulder. Gong Su waved a palm and used Nebula late-stage star energy to slap Su Xing dead. The moment his fingers parted, the golden thread fish scale armor firmly blocked his palm energy, and Su Xing sent him flying with a kick. A ripping, cold wind poured into his ear. Thinking was not needed to know that Gong Yang already grasped that opportunity to attack. Su Xing was not looking at all. Raising his left arm, several sharp blades penetrated Su Xing's arm, but Su Xing's brow did not wrinkle at all. Taking advantage of a sidestep, he fired his last 3 thunder fire bullets. At this close of a range, the thunder fire bullets' power passed through the barrel. Gong Yang's defenses conveniently broke, and then feinting with his right hand, his left hand holding Silverblade took the opportunity to rub Gong Yang's neck. Ah! Gong Yang covered his neck, exposing an unimaginable expression. Fresh blood gurgled out from between the cracks of his fingers, dyeing his whole body red. He opened his mouth wide, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. An ark appeared. He still thought of boarding the ark to escape. However, a copper man puppet's fist rumbled towards him and immediately crushed Gong Yang to death. "Elder brother Gong Yang!" Gong Su wrathfully shouted. He had not thought that Gong Yang unexpectedly would be killed off by Su Xing in a short instant. He had no time to vent his feelings, though. Su Xing's silver blade that was smeared with blood was already stabbing towards him. Su Xing's not doing too shabby. I'm surprised he got rid of a Nebula late-stage cultivator. Shi Yuan praised. Possessing the majestic star's mark, if it's in close quarters, it definitely is not something that an ordinary star cultivator can block. Wu Xinjie pridefully said. What is that silver artifact? It's a very odd thing. It's a blade, yet it is also a crossbow. Hex, boom, little sister, be careful. And Suwen said. A copper man puppet suffered extreme damage under the Thousand Machine Gang disciples' mechanical beast's attack. Shi Yuan definitely loved it dearly, for she hastily raised a puppet flag and recalled that copper man puppet. The other 2 copper man puppets began to sweep clean the rest of the Thousand Machine Gang disciples. You bunch of mixed soldiers certainly must not disturb the Star Master's fight. The thief star giggled, admiring while full of implications. In any case, it looked like Lin Mei and Su Xing handling that Devil Star's Star Master should not turn into a problem. Great Wisdom King Cleave. 11. With sword chi that was like a rainbow, the Devil Star Song Jia stabbed, and once again, brought out an impossible-to-resist sword light that beat Lin Mei back. However, it could not bring satisfactory harm to the majestic star. Lin Mei stood straight without falling. That Arctic star spear again resisted the Great Wisdom King Cleave. So this is the Thousand Military's realmy majestic star? Song Jia already was not in the mood to pay attention to her master's battle. In her subconscious, she believed that her own Nebula late-stage master could handle a Nebula early stage without issue. Lin Yingme did not speak much. Her spear's cold chi permeated the entire place, ice-cold to the bone. Just like a shooting star on a cold night, Lin Yingme already attacked before her eyes. The Devil Star Song Jia's Vajra's sword light linked into a resisting wall, basically incapable of impeding Lin Yingme's pace. She did not care in the slightest that the giant in the cloud's weapon twinkled a Buddhist golden light. Panther-head Lin Chong raised her spear, a hurricane seemingly wrapped around it. A number of breaths had not passed when that hurricane directly arrived above the Devil Star. Following closely the restrained light, it exposed the girl's soldierly figure. The eyes below her hair were like a dagger sticking into her heart, brimming with a forceful feeling of oppression. The spear suddenly stabbed, drawing an ice-cold line in the air. In their silence, Song Jia was even unable to see clearly Lin Yingme's thrusting action. A dazzling tip already appeared in the air. A sharp and clear technique chant. The one-star destined weapon blocked Lin Yingme's stab, then a second time, a third. Her spear technique was unending and continuous, increasingly thick. Even if her weapon had ascended to one-star rank, just where did the gap in each side's strength swing? Regarding responsiveness and battle capabilities, how could the heavenly clothes Devil Star be compared to the 1,000 militaries Lin Yingme? The spear point finally pierced through Song Jia's Vajra's sword, and in passing, also stabbed through the girl's shoulder. Damned Lin Chong! The Devil Star giant in the cloud's expression was unsightly to the extreme. The Vajra's sword abruptly warped a golden light, and the girl angrily shouted, "Great wisdom, King Cleave!" A golden light exited the tip, turning into a severe storm. Lin Yingme pulled out her spear and once again took a defensive posture, knowing the Devil Star would take advantage of the Great Wisdom King Cleave to launch a sneak attack. Quickly stepping back, she averted having her weak point being grasped. How could she have anticipated that this time, the Devil Star had fundamentally not hit a snag? After she used the Great Wisdom King Cleave, it did not occur that she would turn her body and rush toward Su Xing. Not good. The currently spectating knowledge star slightly changed, her hand clutching a talisman as she jumped down. How could she expect that the Devil Star was only brandishing the Vajra's sword to beat back Su Xing's attack? Dragging her already master who was already unable to hold his ground, "Let's leave quickly." Gong Su also knew that this time, they had run into a genuine fiend star, fleeing on his flying sword. Immediately transforming into a golden light and rushing straight through the skies, they ran. Truly worthless, they unexpectedly ran. The thief Star Shi Yuan sat on the puppet, roaring with laughter. "Are all star duels this hilarious?" And Suan shook her head, nimbly floating down. "Young master, you're injured?" the divine physician said anxiously. "I'm fine." Su Xing shook his head. He was already accustomed to this sort of injury. Looking at Lin Yingme, the young girl shook her head, so she also did not have any major problems. After Suan bandaged Su Xing's wounds, she also fully used spiritual aura distribution to replenish Lin Yingme's strength. Firmly resisting a one-star heavenly weapon's full-power Great Wisdom King Cleave 3 times, even if she was so valiant, she still did not expend much strength. Who are these people? It seems they already knew we were here beforehand? The efficacious star said oddly. It's the 1,000 Machine Gang. I'm afraid they came for Shi Qian. Wu Xinjia walked over as she turned her head and threw a glance at Shi Yuan. Me? Shi Yuan blinked. The thief star promptly declared her innocence and drew the line. This young lady certainly has never seen the 1,000 Machine Gang, nor have I stolen anything from them. The MO attack mechanism records? Wu Xinjia said, the 1,000 Machine Gang are also experts at using mechanisms. It seems they should be a branch of the Heavenly Machine Clan. Most likely, they wanted to exploit you and wrest the MO attack mechanism records away. The knowledge star looked at those shattered mechanisms and vaguely guessed 78% of the truth. With such a reminder, Shi Yuan actually recalled the reason why she took great interest in machine arts was exactly that she inadvertently heard other people's discussions. Could it be said that the 1,000 machine deliberately arranged that? It indeed serves them right. It was fortunate that Sister Wu Yong saw through their ambush. Shi Yuan giggled. Wu Xinjie very easily saw through this ambush. Put another way, anybody would feel that a star master waiting in front of them declaring that he wanted a star duel was strange. Additionally, Gong Su said he wanted single combat. The knowledge star suspected and sensed that Gong Su definitely was alone to draw out the star generals, and then exploit the opportunity to kill them whilst they were unprepared. If they really did let him reach his objective, that result indeed was a bit not too encouraging. This also was regarded as 1,000 machine gang's bad luck. Without even mentioning an encounter with 4-star generals, there were still the top 10 ranked Knowledge Star and Majestic Star. I did not think that even the Devil Star's Vajra's sword was refined into 1 star. Wu Xinjie paid even more mind to this. Since the star duels already had more than 3 years, the other Star Maidens star weapons also should more or less have finished refining the 1st star. Only seizing the moment to find relic blade sand will do. Su Xing deeply held the same feeling. If it was not for the Vajra's sword advancing to 1 star, Lin Yingmei would not have to fight around. It seemed they could not put off this star weapon refinement. Relic blade sand? Shi Yuan exclaimed. Sister Lin Chong is preparing to use relic blade sand as 1-star material? Thinking it over once again, Lin Chong acted as one of Maiden Mountain's supreme generals. Star weapon refinement naturally needed to use supreme materials. Bian City reportedly has a business workshop market. When the time comes, let's go there and look. Su Xing thought of the relic blade sand originally inside the Kunhua ancient monument taken by Lil Air and had a pang of regret. Su Xing walked before Gong Yang's corpse. This bastard died rather miserably, smashed into a pulp by a copper man puppet's fist. Surprisingly, that wooden boat was still in good condition, and searching with his divine intent, this unexpectedly was the supreme grade artifact, wind-swayed raft. A splashing fire talisman eliminated the corpse, and that astral bag was rolled over. It was as Wu Xinjie guessed, for the 1,000 machine gang definitely were experts in the machine arts. The inside of the astral bag mostly were several manufactured mechanisms, puppet materials, scholar tree golden wood, 2, black iron wood, 3, and innumerable heavy cloud tunics. There were also several hundred blank puppet flags and a few not yet used mechanisms and such. It actually pitifully lacked artifacts. Besides the attacking flying sword necessary to star cultivators, Su Xing also discovered 2 gold-tooth machine discs and a heaven-concealing parasol. 5. It was obvious that if he truly had any first-rate artifacts, Su Xing would not have faced him that easily. The machine arts materials were useless if Su Xing held onto them, so he gave them to Shi Qian as remuneration. The sole item that let Su Xing feel there was an abundant harvest was that wind-swayed raft. It was a flight artifact. Flight artifacts in Liangshan continent were definitely rare. This wind-swayed raft seemed to be created by him linking mechanisms together. Although its speed was not very fast, as far as the not yet nebula late-stage Su Xing was concerned, this was equivalent to a convenient tool. Should we go pursue the Devil Star? Lin Yingmei said. Forget about it, I'm afraid we won't be able to chase them. Let's leave first. Su Xing carved his divine sight into the wind-swayed raft. Using his current star energy to operate this supreme grade artifact, it could actually be achieved with great difficulty. The wind-swayed raft floated up, and with a strong and fierce wind, 6, immediately transformed into an azure light that shot into the heavens. 7. In an unremarkable mountain forest. Has he caught up yet? The giant in the clouds standing atop a tree shook her head. This shame of brothers definitely must be reported. Gong Su gnashed his teeth. He had originally wanted to catch them off guard with an ambush, but he never thought it would be the opposite way around. Your servant was unable to prevail over Lin Chong. Song Jia said calmly. Thrice the great wisdom King Cleave was incapable of shaking up Lin Chong. The gap between them was slightly large, And this was even a contracted majestic star that was already sharing a portion of her star energy to give to her master. Killing Lin Chang's master actually was the most effective method, but it currently seemed that that man was not to be trifled with. Gong Su knew this point as well. For the sake of refining Song Jia's giant's blade into one star, he could be considered as having emptied his pockets. Without powerful artifacts, a nebula late stage's superiority was completely unable to be manifested. How could that person have 4-star generals? Gong Su could not understand. About the thin needles fired at him, if he was not mistaken, then these should be the efficacious star, the divine physician and Dao Chuan's destined star weapon child and mother-linked heart's needles. 8. Song Jia grunted. Your servant assumes that Man and Lin Chong signed a contract, and the rest of the star generals soon afterwards followed behind them, believing they can receive benefits for themselves. The Devil Star's face revealed a sneer, feeling those maiden mountain sisters of hers were actually too naive. They believed this would give them peace and quiet? Wait until the star duel's final phase. Then that man will inevitably abandon them for the final condition. The Devil Star was only too clear on this kind of selfish matter. Gong Su pondered and agreed, otherwise, that abnormality of one man contracting 4-star generals was universally shocking. However, unexpectedly contracting the legendary panther head Lin Chong, this was truly inconceivable. We need only dispose of Lin Chong, and then those 3-star generals will certainly become things in our pocket. 9. Gong Su showed his greed. Killing 3-star generals, especially in addition to this kind of fortuitous meeting with the knowledge star, was rare to find. That obstacle Lin Chong is definitely not easy to pass. Unless your servant's star weapon is refined to 2 stars, then perhaps another battle is possible. Song Jia warned. Although that was a super enticing cake, the price of eating it certainly would not be cheap. The 1,000 machine gang disciples providing assistance, this time nearly all exterminated, served as a lesson. The Devil Star definitely did not want to complete a matter without odds of success. Gong Su also realized this. First, have sect members monitor them for the time being. I'll return to pass this on to the sect leader. Seeing that Lin Chang's master's cultivation is only nebula early stage, he should not have become an outlaw yet. This is the best opportunity to kill him. We just need the sect master to show his face, and relying on the current Lin Chong, he will certainly die without doubt. The sect master is currently cultivating the divine machine 9 styles. Perhaps he will not easily show his face? Song Jia shook her head. I'll try it. We only need to kill 4-star generals, and not only can we obtain the MO attack treasure box, we can also seize the opportunity to expand the 1,000 machine gang. The sect master will understand the stakes in this. Song Jia thought about it and could only be convinced. She did not want to miss this chance either. She only needed to kill 4-star generals, obtain their star energies, especially the majestic star and knowledge star's star energy replenishment. Then she could smoothly enter 1,000 militaries, and 10,000 methods would not be too far. When the time came, even if she encountered the strongest general, the strength star, Jade Qilin Lu Junyi, she simply would have no fear at all. The Blooming Water Sword Sect, one of the Azure Dragon Territory's 4 great sword sects. The school entrenched above the Heavenly River's 5 efficacious summits was all of the sword sect disciples' most proud achievement. The Heavenly River was looked upon as Liangshan continent's #1 river. The river basin reached an area of 10 million kilometers, cutting across the entire Liangshan continent with countless tributaries. It originated from the 9 mountains of immortals of legend. With natural spiritual power in abundance, its efficacious mountain near the Heavenly River gave birth to countless schools and sections. It was land that star cultivators vied for viciously. Furthermore, the Heavenly River flowing past the rippling wave kingdom altogether had 9 efficacious summits. The Blooming Water Sword sect conveniently occupied the 5 greatest of these. Not being proud of this was out of the question. Actually, speaking of the Blooming Water Sword sect's founding, 100 years had not yet passed. Being compared with the number 3 of the Great Sword sects, Extreme Winding Sword sect, 2, which had 1,000 years since its founding, the geometric progression was indeed somewhat shameful. The chief of Blooming Water Sword sect's signature art could not possibly take it around on his person. This made the countless red-eyed star cultivators of the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique desire the chance to steal it. Since relying on a true technique could substitute a school into the four great sword sects, thinking of cultivating this technique themselves to turn one into a great Taoist, it was not necessarily impossible. Consequently, anything concerning the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique was guarded extremely tightly. The Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique had been put on the Blooming Water Sword sect's Blooming Water Hall on top of Overboard Peak. Along the sides of the road, other than 100 disciples standing guard, secret arrays, and mechanisms not low in number, the Blooming Water Hall's surroundings incorporated a calamitous thunder evil smiting array. In the event that they did not have the headminister's permission to pass, if the intruders were not dead, then they would still have to abandon half their life. Along with the passing of 100 years, the star cultivators that died on this road at Overboard Peak were not few in number. Nowadays, the defenses of Overboard Peak were actually increasingly relaxed. However, the Blooming Water Sword sect would never have thought that, once again, someone had their eyes on the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique, and this person was precisely Maiden Mountain's brilliant and famous best thief under heaven, the thief Start Flea on a Drum Shirtien. The flea on a drum Shirtien carefully slinked into the Blooming Water Sword sect along the mountain path leading to Overboard Peak. Acting as a specialized thief avoiding the eyes and ears of people, she was very clear on these series of dangers as well as how she should avoid them. Within the views of the ordinary person, robbers liked to lead away a goat in passing under cover of the night. However, Shi Yuan was different. Acting as the best thief under heaven, she never walked the ordinary road. Clear and bright under heaven and earth, the thief star easily passed through the Blooming Water Sword sect's outer mountain by means of that excellent sneaking and hiding technique. The thief star's first Huangjia magic, wordless and uncommunicative, 5, was a magic that made her heart have no distracting thoughts and removed her presence. The vast majority of star cultivators were unable to sense her. Even if she were to be behind you, you would not even know. It seemed that if it was used for assassinations, it would be a powerful ability. However, if Shi Yuan were to move for a kill, the silence would very easily be broken. Within a certain time period, it was unable to be used. Thus, Shi Yuan was actually very content to take advantage of crises for gain inside the ruins. After all, wordless and uncommunicative handled a few arrays and mechanisms to great effect. Sometimes, intruding into the arrays and traps would not even stir them. Needless to say, in a short amount of time, Shi Yuan promptly passed by in front of the eyes of 100 Blooming Water Sword sect disciples and arrived at the vicinity of the Blooming Water Hall. Finding a hidden corner, Shi Yuan sized up the surrounding environment. This was caution a thief was required to take. The Blooming Water Hall had 2 middle-stage Nebula stage cultivators on guard, but this was only on the surface. Shi Yuan sensed within the darkness that there were additional people standing guard. The Blooming Water Hall had a sword sect forbid dance, and Shi Yuan estimated that this forbid dance would not be difficult to break. It was just those guarding star cultivators that would not be easy to handle. Wordless and uncommunicative could not achieve making other people turn a blind eye on you. As she was thinking, all of a sudden, the Blooming Water Hall doors opened. 3 people walked out and heard the star cultivators guarding the door reverently and respectfully call out, "Headmaster." So that's the Blooming Water Sword sect current headmaster, the Taoist Luo River, 6? Watching that middle-aged man of flat complexion, Shi Yuan recalled the information the knowledge star gave beforehand, that this Taoist Luo River attained galaxy late stage. The 2 flanking him were a young man and young woman. The man's expression was very respectful, but the girl was rather indifferent, seemingly not putting the headmaster in her eyes. Seems to be a star general? Shi Yuan muttered. Suddenly, that girl violently glanced towards the place Shi Yuan was hiding at. The thief star was startled and immediately restrained her breathing. "Yao, oh, what's the matter?" Qin Zhonglin asked. Following her line of sight, several people saw an ordinary mountain rock. That Taoist Luo River pointed, and a jade light shot towards there. Not sensing anything peculiar, it subsequently returned. Nothing, just somewhat tired. Yaoer yawned. Chen Zhonglin helplessly looked at his headmaster. Taoist Luo River slightly smiled, walking while speaking. Zhonglin, this time, the sword sect indeed completely values your capabilities in this time star duels. You definitely cannot be careless. Zhonglin is determined to go through water and tread on fire for the purpose of raising the sword sect's prestige. Without hesitation, Chen Zhonglin earnestly stated. You have already memorized this blooming water divine thunder true techniques introductory chant? Taoist Luo River nodded, pleased. And Zhonglin surely will do his best to cultivate this art. I won't let the sect down. As Chen Zhonglin declared his solemn vow, Yaoer dully interjected a phrase. Compared to this, I want even more to quickly refine my star weapon to 2-star. Relic blade sand is truly too rare. A secluded ancestral master, 7, already finished his training. I'm afraid we still need more time. Taoist Luo River did not take offense to her attitude at all. Oh, is that so? And I've heard Bien City recently held an auction that turned up relic blade sand. The ancestral master certainly will help you obtain it. Taoist Luo River laughed loudly. Chen Zhonglin showed a happy expression. Sword sect ancestral masters on average were all supercluster star cultivators. This sort of cultivation placed within the Azure Dragon territory could be considered front-ranking. It seemed that an ancestral master taking action meant there was no problem. Refining to the 2nd star was not a problem. Yao, I said you can just relax. After this, even if we ran into Lin Chong, even she would know your might. The group gradually walked off far away, and Shi Yuan stretched her head forward, turning it towards the blooming waterhall. Her eyeballs rolled, suddenly exposing a crafty smile. Su Xing sat in his bedroom, both legs crossed as he finished a day of cultivation. Exhaling a long breath, his star energy had yet to make great progress in Nebula early stage. The chaotic tail escape and heart-like mirrors techniques progression was also very slow. Hearing the knowledge star say that during the star duels, star masters would not spare anything to increase their own strength, besides advancing star energy, first-rate artifacts, and even astral treasures and cultivation techniques were innumerable. The newcomers Su Xing, 1, had no patrons and 2, lacked experience. So far he only had the chaotic tail escaped and the heart-like mirrors absolute sincerity soul technique. Although speaking of these two techniques that they could be counted as top-notch, not being able to increase his fighting capabilities was somewhat of a pity. Su Xing abruptly remembered the things he stole from the Heavenly River Sword School's blue-clothed youth under the cover of an emergency at the Flower Dragon Cave. Conveniently turning things over, out came the copy of Water Droplet True Technique and a small bottle. Looking through the Water Droplet True Technique once, this seal actually was pretty good. Taking a water droplet and training it inside the dantian could allow, at any time, a spitting water droplet attack. Cultivating to late stage, every single rock-piercing water droplet would seem to have the power of 1,000, and could break through to 1,000 men and 10,000 horses. Thinking of that scenario of simultaneously firing several tens or hundreds was just terrifying. It was worthy of not having any difference from the Heavenly River Sword School's signature technique. Rock-piercing water droplet actually could be used as the 2nd silver blade. 9, and Su Xing's eyes gleamed. Considering the blooming water divine thunder and the consequences of nurturing the rock-piercing water droplets at the same time in his body, Su Xing inquired the experienced and knowledgeable Wu Xinjia. The answer was actually affirmative. As long as the 5 elements do not mutually overthrow each other, this does not have any problems. Then practicing this rock-piercing water droplets isn't bad. Su Xian said. Wu Xinjia looked over the true technique. This is only an early stage or middle stage technique. However, using it to nurture at the dantian is very suitable for young master. The knowledge star smiled. Is there a reason? Su Xing inquisitively asked. Young master has contracted with myself and little sistering. Your ocean of consciousness would be larger than from before by a size. According to this logic, as the ocean of consciousness grows stronger, This sort of technique of warm upbringing within the body that exploits divine intent and ocean of qi to cultivate will increasingly show its results. Su Xing nodded. Training the rock-piercing water droplets required a kind of ovum water to act as an aid, and it happened to be that small bottle of singular, almost egg-like water droplets. 11. The thief star already agreed to go steal that true technique anyways, so Su Xing decided to directly swallow both the blooming water thunder dragon pill and the ovum water in one go and be done with it. He thought about it and sat. Su Xing had Lin Yingmei stand guard, and Wu Xinjie waited for the opportunity to act. And that's what you think, buddy. Right arrow curving left 9. Not silver blade. Right arrow curving left 10. Right arrow curving left 11. Think frog eggs. Su Xing suddenly felt a burst of warmth and moisture arrive in his mouth, and an agitated breath in his body was pacified. In the middle of his slowly opening his eyes, he caught sight of Wu Xinjie currently laying on top of his body, her beautiful eyes tightly shut, her nimble tongue enchantingly wrapped up in a deep kiss. Su Xing was momentarily moved, embracing her and returning her kiss, both his hands climbing past her back to capture that smooth and round upraised butt. Wu Xinjie moaned sharply. Slightly opening her eyes, her body's rubbing was even more incredible. Wu Yong, what are you doing? The Lin Yingmei who had fetched a pot of water entered the room and unexpectedly saw the two people passionately kissing on the bed, shouting with a furrowed brow. Xinjie is asking young master to get up from bed. The knowledge star got up wishing to continue, her eyes lovely. Young master, how do you feel? Su Xing also knew he could not pretend to sleep any longer, laughing sheepishly. Master, how are that divine thunder and ovum water? Lin Yingmei carried over for Su Xing a bowl of medicine that Ensuan specially boiled. It could rehabilitate at the fastest level of speed the exhaustion after cultivation. Su Xing drained the cup in one gulp and sat down cross-legged in response. In his dantian, a water droplet about the size of a pearl currently followed the star energy in his body, slowly moistening his qi rivers. This should be the rock-piercing water droplets, and it was different from what was on the book. This water droplet flickered lights of lightning, unexpectedly refined and turned into a thunder water droplet by the blooming water divine thunder, too, in a curious coincidence. It was fortunate that the blooming water divine thunder was present. Although it was faintly but slowly increasing, equivalently passing through the mixture of rock-piercing water droplets, that water thunder was seemingly solid, apparently even more powerful than the original divine thunder by a level. Speaking about this matter, Wu Xinjie gaped and smiling. Most likely it was this pure blooming water divine thunder and ovum water each being mixed into a single piece and forming a sharply contrasting rock-piercing water droplet and blooming water divine thunder. This is actually success by a stroke of luck. Seeing that it was not something bad, Su Xing relaxed, and then he again cultivated according to the water droplet true technique for another few days. A rock-piercing water droplet still separated, and it unexpectedly separated into two. According to what the book said, after rock-piercing water droplets were warmly nurtured at the dantian, unceasing cultivation would then continually refine a number of these. A star cultivator possessing enormous star energy in his body refining several hundred rock-piercing water droplets was not impossible, but this required a very long time to endure. From swallowing the ovum water to now was only a few hours, and Su Xing's body was already warmly raising 5 rock-piercing water droplets. Actually, this was also thanks to that heart-like mirror's absolute sincerity soul technique. Great Master Mirror gathered his entire life of quintessential military learning and condensed it all for this soul technique. 3 layers of states that had nothing to do with each other yet each possessed remarkable power. Su Xing's heart-like mirror's soul technique broke the heart still as water realm of the first layer, sea mountains as mountains, under a chance coincidence. Cultivating whatever technique, even if he followed its cultivation, it was still half the work and twice the effect. To Su Xing's current ocean of consciousness star energy, rapidly refining more than 10 droplets was not a problem. However, it was not exactly that more was better. The rock-piercing water droplet's point of power lay in that a single water droplet's power was like 1,000 Gen. 3. It could pierce rock, pierce through iron. Otherwise, it would be the same as that Heavenly River Sword School's blue-clothed youth. Though he had more than 10 droplets, they were all very easily broken by the Azure Dragon fan. And just having Shi Yuan go steal the Blooming Water Sword Sect's signature technique this way, isn't this too risky? Su Xing looked at the color of the sky was already dark. Shi Yuan right now still had not returned with information. The flea on a drum Shi Qian is certainly an old hand at this. Without grasping the situation, even she wouldn't be that eager to go throw her life away. Wu Xinjie was not worried in the slightest about the thief star. She really could not imagine a scenario where Maiden Mountain's #1 thief had been captured on the spot. Su Xing thought this was so as well, and worrying now was rather late. Speaking with Suan for a moment, Su Xing and Lin Yingmei along with Wu Xinjie walked out of the residence. Acting as a progressing, intense and rigorous star master, Su Xing did not have any extra time to idly waste away. His daily business of cultivating was even more tiring than the drills he attended during his time as a soldier. Fortunately, Su Xing could quite easily adapt. Thinking of the second phase birth outline that was on the verge of commencing, he was too far behind. If he did not overtake his strength, he certainly would not last. Looking at the two beauties at his side, Su Xing also thought of protecting them, and not letting them protect him. At the Heavenly River Market Workshop, Su Xing sought Thunderfire Sand thinking of continuing forging a few Thunderfire bullets. Currently, it seemed he possessed several exceptional artifacts, but none were as handy and satisfactory as Silver Blade. It was a pity that searching the square for half a day, he only found not even 10 decagrams of Thunderfire Sand, which was far from enough. After exchanging the Blossom Steel Beast and a few useless items for gold, he then looked around the square to see if there was anything he would like for himself. After the water and land assembly passed, the Heavenly River Square settled down by a lot. Shopping around for a long while, Su Xing only used 2 golden tooth mechanical discs and more than a dozen liang of gold in exchange for a high-grade nebula artifact pure gold shield that was pretty good. Returning home and entering the lobby, he saw Suan presently calling a girl to come eat. The girl was carefree, gorging herself upon what she was eating entirely without a lady's awareness. It was the thief star, Shi Qian. "You guys are back?" Shi Yuan wiped her mouth. "How was your investigation? The Blooming Water Sword Sect deserves to be one of the 4 great sword sects. It was truly imposing, and you guys really ought to see the 5 great efficacious summits hall." Shi Yuan spoke in admiration. "The point?" The thief star shrugged her shoulders, helplessly saying, "It's no good. That calamitous thunder evil smiting array of the Blooming Water Hall is too powerful. This young lady completely had no way of getting close, and recently, the Blooming Water Hall's defenses have been extremely tight. It was very difficult to approach." "Even you couldn't do it?" Wu Xinjie knit her brow, somewhat regretful. "If it's like this, then forget about it." Su Xing was not stubborn and unchangeable. It was something he needed to obtain, and although it was somewhat of a pity, if he felt around things himself, he may not necessarily be unable to feel out a way to do this. Suan giggled, "Little sister Shi Yuan, don't keep your listeners in suspense, just say it directly." The thief star laughed. "Su Xing, you truly look down on the thief star, too much. Actually, stealing is not impossible, but it will require Su Xing and my sister's aid." "What can we even do?" Lin Yingmei asked. "You must let Su Xing and I cooperate together." Shi Yuan giggled. She already observed at the Blooming Water Hall for a very long time. The surrounding disciples she could avoid, but the calamitous thunder evil smiting array required that she rely on the avoid thunder divine talisman, 5, to make things work. The problem was that although the avoid thunder divine talisman could evade, it would alarm the Blooming Water Sword sect. If that Taoist Luo River started the sect protection great array and sealed the mountain, then the thief star would truly be a bird in a cage. The only way to do this was precisely to mount Su Xing to urge on the flight artifact to escape. "Your meaning is to let the young master and you rush the Blooming Water Sword sect together?" This is too dangerous. Wu Xinjie hesitated. That place was a four-great sword sect after all. Its adepts were countless, and it was completely hard to imagine running away in the case that they were spotted. Lin Yingmei also creased her brow. This young lady alone truly has no solution. Shi Yuan was for a lack of a better option. She was not capable of flying, and even if she obtained the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique, she could not escape past the sect protection Great Array. This type of Great Array certainly was not something she, the Thief Star, could break away from. I agree, Su Xing said resolutely. After all, this is my business, and I can't let her do everything by herself. I also must assume some risk. This sounded very fair. Making the Thief Star take the risk by herself, he would not be able to relax. The Knowledge Star was speechless. 6. The Thief Star blinked. Gazing at Su Xing, her eyes had some surprise and amazement. Su Xing, you've thought this over clearly? This young lady certainly is not your star general. There's no guarantee that this young lady will share the trials and tribulations together. Can't say for sure that this young lady would seek an opportunity to eradicate you. 7. Shi Yuan smiled yet did not, reminding Su Xing that at least in some respects, they were not exactly friends nor were they necessarily bitter enemies. Only a bit of brain was needed to understand how dangerous of an existence the enemy that could contract the Knowledge Star and the Majestic Star was. I have no reason to oppose you doing things this way. Su Xing smiled very indifferently. Then Xinjie had better first chat with Master. Wu Xinjie apologetically glanced at Suwen, pulling Su Xing out the door. An observant person could discern that the Knowledge Star already appeared to be shaken by Thief Star Shi Qian's words. Shi Qian smiled and nodded. Lin Yingmei stood in the doorway, surreptitiously sizing up the Thief Star while also watching Wu Xinjie and Su Xing's discussion. Master, do you really want to go? This is too dangerous. The Knowledge Star's expression was very grave. Rushing alone one of the four great sword sects under heaven, this absolutely was not as easy as labyrinths and monuments. The Blooming Water Sword sect has a Star Master, and handling any sort of Star Master, they do not know compassion or leniency, Wu Xinjie warned. Its resounding name as a four great sword sect describing it as upright notwithstanding, if something implicated its own interests, these uprights' decisiveness in killing was even more firm than a demonic cult's. If Shi Qian deliberately gave away a permeating rumor to the Blooming Water Sword sect, Su Xing going like this possibly was walking right into a trap. Doing things like this for the sake of a Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique was not at all worth it. Actually, what made Wu Xinjie this nervous was also precisely the Thief Star Shi Yuan's identity. Acting as a top-notch robber, knowing how to assess the situation was the key to her excellence, and it was hard to say if there was a dagger hidden under her smile. After all, the Thief Star indeed flaunted before talk of the likes of Shi and Lin Chong as generals that did not sign contracts. Being able to declare this sort of proclamation made clear that Shi Yuan had wild schemes. She would not be this resigned to fate. An excellent thief will always be more terrifying than an assassin at the pivotal moment. The Knowledge Star even felt Shi Yuan deliberately spoke out those words about herself possibly being trapped to make Su Xing's trust turn blind because saying as such often would make people feel the other party was being straightforward without evil intentions, and it was precisely that the Knowledge Star felt that this was even more suspicious. This sort of petty trick by the other party, Wu Xinjie would be damned to be overlook it. Xinjie, I know you care about me, but servants that do not doubt suspicious people are useless. Since it was me who requested she go do this, she putting forth a request is very reasonable. If I backed out, wouldn't that mean I'm afraid? Do you want to see me afraid? Su Xing calmly looked at the young girl. Your servant will protect Master. If she betrays you, your servant definitely will make her regret it. Lin Yingmei coldly opened her mouth, staring at the Shi Yuan on the table drinking beer. Actually, the meaning in her words just about showed belief in the Thief Star. The Knowledge Star was powerless. In the you and the young master saying as such, Xinjie unexpectedly seems to be on the opposite side. Su Xing smiled, stroking her soft and smooth cheek. Don't worry, I won't sit and wait for death. He moved close to the knowledge star's ear and said these few words. Wu Xinjie's face reddened, somewhat bashfully nodding her head. 10. Shi Yuan, you wouldn't really entrap young Master Su Xing, would you? And Su Wen also felt worried. Shi Yuan smiled without answering as she drank beer. Sister Su Wen, this young lady suddenly also wants to sign with a contractor. 11. With little sister Shi Yuan's capabilities, finding one would not be difficult at all. And Su Wen consoled. A true gentleman will sacrifice his life for a friend who understands him, but just who would bother go taking risks for a thief? Shi Yuan shook her head, her gaze watched Su Xing and his 2-star generals. An indescribably envy bubbled up in her mind, making her drink several gulps, displeased. 12. And Su Wen looked on pensively. 1. Right arrow curving left 2. I thought he swallowed a blooming water thunder dragon pill, not the divine thunder itself. Oh. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. Right arrow curving left 6. This isn't the first time he's done something stupid. Right arrow curving left 7. Not if he makes you swoon for him first. Right arrow curving left 8. Meaning star masters besides their own. Right arrow curving left 9. Basically accusing her of deliberately leaking information. Right arrow curving left 10. There we have it. Su Xing has embraced his inner lady killer instincts. Right arrow curving left 11. There's one right here. Right arrow curving left 12. Thus, she reveals her inner doubts. Her boisterous mannerisms conceal confidence issues. Fret not, fair maiden, for Su Xing is the man you seek. Moonlight and stars sparse, a dark night and high winds. The thief star Shi Qian brought Su Xing to carefully infiltrate the blooming water sword sect, just easily passing through the sentries of the outer halls, stopping behind a tree. You still actually dared to come along, huh? Shi Yuan showed a narrow smile to Su Xing. What wouldn't I dare do? Su Xing vigilantly watched his surroundings. This blooming water sword sect's precautions were excessively strict. Sword sect disciples could be seen everywhere, and if it were not for the thief star leading the way, avoiding being detected would have been extremely difficult otherwise. Just as he thought this, another several sword sect disciples walked by. Their scents were right under his nose. Su Xing held his breath. Senior brother Zhonglin is truly amazing. He only entered the ranks of star cultivators for just 3 years, and he is already at Nebula late stage. I heard he even killed the Heavenly River Sword School at the Flower Dragon Cave and obtained a Galaxy Stage artifact, the Blood Rain Pot. 2. Right? These days, the headmaster already passed on the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique incantation to him. A star cultivator that can form a contract is truly a cause for envy. We've stayed at the Sword Sect for 4 or 5 years and still haven't broken through to Nebula Stage. Just how can we compare to a Star Master? In order for senior brother Zhonglin to emerge victorious from the star duels, the headmaster definitely vigorously patronized him. I heard a secluded ancestral master specially left the mountain. AI, as long as you can contract a star general, it's all good. Without strength to sign a contract, those trash star generals completely lacking fighting capabilities simply are asking for a dead end. Those powerful fiend stars simply won't pay attention to us. We had better honestly and sincerely cultivate. And you said it. The headmaster said we cannot bite off more than we can chew. An adept suddenly yelled, "You junior brothers, what are you still blabbering about? Senior brother Zhonglin's star general is currently training. The headmaster had cause to let us train with her." All right. The dozen sword sect disciples hurriedly ran over. The Su Xing and Shi Yuan, who silently overheard the entire exchange, looked at each other. I wonder which sister received such hospitality from the blooming water sword sect. The flea on a drum covered her mouth. Compared to these sects that possessed robust strength, Su Xing just discovered that he was truly fortunate to have reached his current stage on his own. Are we going to go take a look? Shi Qian said. Now, to get to the overboard peak, we need to pass through the sword training courtyard, anyways. The thief star surveyed the surroundings, and then her figure fled away, seemingly dissolving like a graceful civet into the night. Su Xing promptly followed her up. The Blooming Water Sword Sect sword training courtyard was a massive elevated platform. Its surroundings had 4 water dragon steels embedded with colored glass and precious gems. Within the dark night, the clear radiance emitted brightly lit the sword training grounds. Currently, 100 sword sect disciples assembled on the sword training grounds. They could be seen with flying swords grasped in hand, or manipulated, or swung, or used for magic, or every sort of prominent power. Standing atop the platform was a challenger who was an extraordinary girl, wearing light blue temple dress. Her hair rolled up by a sparkling and translucent jade hairpin, and her waist was wrapped by crimson silk, while she wore a pair of water walk phoenix shoes. 3. Her skirt was arranged like slightly swelling waves that reflected and floated out clear and crystalline light in such a large sword training courtyard, almost like she was stepping on water. The girl's forehead had a blue, gorgeous astral crest, flickering an extremely beautiful and splendid light. The weapon her hand grasped was very strange. It was a green scaly dragon tail, a trident with its entire length sparkling. Under Wu Xinjie's teaching, Su Xing already more or less understood a few of Maiden Mountain Star Maiden's characteristic destined star weapons. This exquisite and extraordinary was perhaps the Jade Water Turtle Dragon Trident, the retreating star river churning clam's destined star weapon. The river churning clam retreating star Tong was ranked in power as Maiden Mountain 69th. Her military strength was average, but she possessed excellent aquatic martial arts. If she were to fight on water, even a few of the heavenly stars may not necessarily be her opponent, a river-churning dragon not just in name, but also in reality. Seeing that Jade Water Turtle Dragon Trident surrounded by a blue starlight, it must be refined to at least 1 star. Could it be you all haven't eaten? Hurry and use your skills. At least act like men and not let Yaoer feel bored. The retreating star's tone was brimming with unhappiness. Is the Blooming Water Sword Sect all these pieces of trash? Her words that were ruthless roused the indignation of the Sword Sect disciples. A dozen disciples urged on their hand seals. Their flying swords unsheathed and turned into a single sword array. The other disciples' took the opportunity to brandish and cut their swords toward her. This is only slightly interesting. Yaoer spun her Jade Water Turtle Dragon Trident, and the light reflecting from the floor seemingly rose suddenly. When it clashed directly with the other sword array, the array completely collapsed, and a water light scattered in every direction from the weapon. It was like a dragon had just emerged from the sea, suddenly giving birth to wind and reducing those besieging disciples into disorder. Their sorry figures tumbled onto the sword training courtyard. Yet a dozen flying swords turned into blue lights that shot straight towards the retreating star. The girl moved just a tad, and the Jade Water Turtle Dragon Trident shot down the flying swords. The attack was grand in scale and unstoppable. Give me a bit more effort and use your styles. Lin Chong is definitely not like you in competence. A disciple glanced towards Chen Zhonglin. Chen Zhonglin nodded. Then, excuse me. A disciple shouted, even striking hand seals, and the other disciples responded in succession. The Blooming Water Sword Sect was a school of sword cultivators, and as such, they were very proficient in the sword arts. Conventional military forces in Liangshan continent that could emerge victorious over a star general were not many, but the star generals were not necessarily dominant over sword arts. Several hundred flying swords decorated the sword training courtyard, imposing as a rainbow. Brightly shining on the people, Su Xing was transfixed. Under the sword sect disciples' call, the flying swords emitted water thunder and linked together into a great net. The retreating star at last put away her boredom, both hands grasping her polearm for luck. A dark blue brilliance swept out from the Jade Water Turtle Dragon Trident, and the Chen Zhonglin to the side did not dare to be careless, striking hand seals and imbuing star energy. The water thunder flying swords spread and covered the sky. The might of the Water Thunder Flower Sword Array, 5, fully utilized by 100 disciples, was even more terrifying than an artifact. The retreating star river churning clam Tong Meng was indifferent as she rotated her feet in a half circle. Her body slightly turned, and the jade water turtle dragon trident became like a soaring, coiling dragon that tore through the sky. Its water dragon body engulfed the entire sword training courtyard and continued to expand. Even if he was 100 meters away, Su Xing could feel the water dragon attack towards him. This water dragon just swept and leveled the sword training courtyard. Those disciples were struck one by one, and those flying swords were washed away like dead leaves in a river. It was not for Tong Yao painstakingly holding back her power. This move would have killed at least half the sword sect disciples. So powerful! Is this a yellow rank battle technique or a dark rank battle technique? Su Xing was dumbstruck by what he saw. It is said that the Star Maidens altogether had 4 types of different ranks of battle techniques: heaven and earth, dark and yellow. 6. When each type of battle technique was used, that was always a great, all-destroying and ruthless move. It was rare to use this without reaching the critical moment because this was very taxing on their strength. Yao, that was done not half bad. The water dragon captures heaven, overflows the sea. 7. Is more and more proficient. Even easily breaking the water thunder flower sword array, it seems it won't be long before you should comprehend the dark rank style. Chen Zhongling clapped. It's still too early. Tong Yao took a deep breath, dully replying. Looking at everyone around her, she coldly smiled. Come at me again. Tong Yao isn't done playing yet. Young master, we should leave. Shi Qian tugged Su Xing. Although he was very astonished by the girl's power, Su Xing did not forget his own job. The sword training courtyard was still a place to train the sword, and Su Xing's heart gave rise to a trace of waves. Not only just he, but the rest of Liangshan's star masters were all trying hard. Even earthly stars would not give up any opportunities. On this road to chase after the final victor, inside this utterly unfair game, everyone would not tread very relaxed. Due to the retreating star Tong Yao practicing sword techniques, she attracted the attention of a great portion of the Blooming Water Sword sect's disciples. Entering the overboard peak was exceptionally smooth, and the 2 guards at the Blooming Water Hall that were as motionless as a mountain became the only difficult problem. The 2 star cultivators' cultivations were not inferior to Su Xing's. If he was to mount a sneak attack, that would be too risky. Su Xing was just thinking about whether or not he should use a diversionary tactic when he saw Shi Yuan gently and cautiously take out a wooden box. Opening the wooden box, several mosquitoes flew out. Seeing Su Xing's perplexed expression, the flea on a drum smiled evilly. You just wait and see. Shi Yuan softly exhaled. Those mosquitoes flew toward the star cultivator's standing guard, and he saw the mosquitoes spin a few loops around the star cultivator's surroundings. One of the cultivators then yawned incessantly, leaned against the wall, and fell asleep. Hey, get up. Don't you be lazy. The other cultivator unhappily yelled. The mosquitoes flew some more loops. He suddenly felt his eyelids become heavy, and then he drunkenly entered a dream just like that. Su Xing was stupefied. What sort of trick was this? Was this not too extraordinary? The thief star saw through Su Xing's thoughts, twitching her lips in disapproval. These are only several of this young lady's specially raised drowsy bugs. 2. Is it that magical? Toppling a couple of nebula stage cultivators just like this, it was more ridiculous than an artifact. Shi Yuan shook her head. The drowsy bugs actually were not as powerful as Su Xing believed. In the first place, the target had to feel extremely fatigued. Only when they were under a completely relaxed and danger-free mental state could they be put to sleep by the drowsy bugs. As a professional, virtuous, and trained thief, keeping this sort of gadget on her person was very reasonable. Su Xing nevertheless felt goosebumps. The odd insects lurking in Liangshan continent were many, as expected. He truly could not be careless. Someday someone were to loose drowsy bugs upon him, then he would indeed be trampled over. You don't need to be wary about this sort of matter, Su Xing. You're a star master, your star generals will help you dispose of it. The thief star smiled. The 2 people walked out, and Shi Yuan made Su Xing keep watch as she alone entered the Blooming Water Scripture Depository Hall. 3. The night wind gently blew. Su Xing stood on Overboard Peak's crest, And above him was the star river in the sky. Hundreds of stars were like pearls hidden under the Milky Way, dazzling resplendently, twinkling and glimmering, a brilliant radiance. Regardless of where or when, raising your head to gaze at the hundreds of bright stars would intimidate anyone's heart in this way. Lin Yingmei emerged from the star nest, standing guard to one side. The girl's eyes occasionally glanced at that bustling sword training courtyard at the bottom of the mountain. After the scene of a giant beatdown at the sword training courtyard, the 100 blooming water sword sect disciples fell disorderly onto the ground where they stood. Their strength exhausted, the sole girl left standing on the platform still looked to be in great spirits. Enough. Yao, this should do it for today. Chen Zhonglin wiped his sweat. As a star master, supporting this much star energy also made him unbearably tired. The retreating star, river-churning clam Tong Meng recalled her jade water turtle dragon trident, 5, and lightly jumped off the platform. It's a pity your sword sect cannot find a martial expert that can genuinely match up to the military might of the likes of Lin Chong. Tong Yao pursed her lips, bearing disappointment. It can't be helped. True sword cultivators are few enough to be counted on one hand. Chen Zhonglin just had no way out of this. Liangshan continent's star cultivators were closely associated with combat artifacts. If their most feared enemy was too close, what good would high martial skills do? Unless it was a sword cultivator who reached that sort of great realm, otherwise they only had a pretty appearance with no substance. Even if a late-stage sword cultivator had powerful abilities, they rarely used them. Mostly, they waited on sword arrays and sword arts, 6, training their martial arts. They might as well cultivate their divine intent, for that was even more worthwhile. This was Liangshan continent's mainstream thinking. Of course, Maiden Mountain star generals naturally could not be mentioned on equal terms. These fiend stars possessing legendary star weapons took sword-cleaving technique as something to be easily grasped, like how the star energy realms of star cultivators also lacked importance in their eyes. Walking to the overboard peak, Tong Yao abruptly lifted her head, staring at the mountaintop, her brow tightly wrinkled. Yao, oh, what's the matter? Chen Zhonglin asked. Yao seemed to have sensed a sister just now. Tong Yao said eagerly. Chen Zhonglin smiled. No way. That star general is so stupid as to dare run to the blooming water sword sect to seek death. Tong Yao's sternness made Chen Zhonglin's smile slowly fade. He had also heard before some things about star generals mutually attracting towards each other. Could it be they're here to steal the true thunder true technique? 7. But that's still useless without a divine thunder. Worry about that after we go up and take a look. Alright, Zhonglin just happens to have a few blooming water arts that aren't practiced. Outside the blooming water hall, Su Xing still stood guard at the overboard peak. Lin Ying thought for a long time, then asked him, Young master, the knowledge star didn't come along. Does master have something arranged to prevent unexpected events? Su Xing glanced at the Shiyuan currently inside the hall breaking the array. Being a bit careful has never been a bad thing. Lin Yingmei thought that this was natural, but there was one thing she did not understand. Why does master believe in the thief star so much? Xinjie's conjecture is very reasonable. As your servant sees it, if it was anyone else, they would have definitely already been convinced by the knowledge star. The panther head had quite the new level of respect for Su Xing on this point. Put anyway, the knowledge star, the resourceful star Wu Yong, was a wise general. Her analyses and hypotheses would surely compel others to believe her, especially since a few months ago, the knowledge star already produced a similar situation, but Su Xing nevertheless had his own thoughts, not at all entangled in the past. You didn't stop me either, though? Su Xing smiled. Your servant was only believing in master. Lin Yingmei calmly replied. Even being able to forecast the worst outcome, would you still say that you're afraid? Su Xing asked back. Is it like this? Lin Yingmei nodded. The retreating star is headed towards here. Lin Yingmei put away her relaxed manner, staring coldly down the mountain. Su Xing blanked out. Just the retreating star? Yes. Lin Yingmei's divine intent already caught onto Tong Yao the moment it mobilized. The panther head's inquiring gaze was directed at Su Xing, awaiting his decision. Presently, the retreating star suddenly rushed towards this place. Whether this was a trap or a coincidence was all under Su Xing's judgment. If it was a trap, taking advantage of the Sword Sect Great Array having not been activated and leaving beforehand was the most logical choice. Certainly, this premise necessitated abandoning Shi Qian. If he felt that this was a coincidence, then he had to obstruct the retreating star before Shi Yuan came out. Looking at their attitudes, it was evident that they were rushing towards the blooming water hall. It shouldn't be a trap. It's a coincidence. Su Xing mind turned. If it was a trap, then he could only say that this trap was too silly. They could not even do the simplest ambush. Stop her! Su Xing ordered without the slightest hesitation. The excited brilliance within the eyes of the Tong Yao currently rushing up the mountain grew increasingly extreme. Just now, she already felt a thread of divine intent sweep past her, and she secretly relayed a message to Qin Zhonglin. Master, look out! Tong Yao suddenly shouted. The jade water turtle dragon trident was like a scared dragon, a roll of jade light sprinkling about. Two silhouettes dropped down in front of them. Under the moonlight, there appeared a man and a woman, immediately shaking up Tong Yao and Qin Zhonglin. The man's soldierly appearance was out of the ordinary, and the girl's heroic beauty was biting cold. You brazen, sinful thief. Unexpectedly rushing the blooming water sword sect, you're courting death. Qin Zhonglin shouted. Star Master, calm down a bit. If it's going to be like this, only a one-on-one star duel has any meaning. Su Xing slightly smiled, a heavenly river water sword in hand. Lin Yingmei scowled coldly at them. With spear in hand, they were like a pair of evil calamities. A star master Qin Zhonglin went blank. Panther head Lin Chong. The retreating star, river-churning clam Tong Yao's pupils shrunk. The majestic star panther head Lin Chong's fame for fighting prowess was truly exceptional. When everyone saw Lin Yingmei's Arctic Star Spear, their expressions all seemed to have been produced by a factory. Besides shock, they also felt inconceivability towards Su Xing. By the time Lin Yingmei's cold grunt ended, she had already executed her assault, immediately sending dust flying. It was already too late to let them be astonished, for the majestic star was acting. For the sake of fighting for time for Shi Qian, Lin Yingmei also did not want to speak nonsense. Using the fiercest assault to interrupt their pondering was the best solution. During a moment when they have not regained their senses quickly, it was only natural that if there was an opportunity to get rid of an opponent, that was not a bad thing. The retreating star Tong Meng's reactions were exceedingly quick, disappearing from where she was. From within the air flashed an acute light. The Arctic Star Spear and the Jade Water Trident already collided together, unexpectedly stopping Lin Yingmei's quick and violent attack. The water light and cold chi became one. The river-churning clam Tong Yao did not train fruitlessly at the blooming water sword sect sword training courtyard. Not only was she able to block this attack, the girl suddenly chuckled. She exhibited high speed, calmly and swiftly counter-attacking like a violent tide. The Jade Water Trident's technique of attack was overwhelming. Lin Yingmei dexterously received it, her spear just like a shield. The girl's brow raised, stepping around where she was, and with a great leap into the air, making an aerial slash and at the same time, exerted her entire body's star energy. That speed was how fast? How time flies, fleeting. Resounding words. The sharp and clear cries of metal meeting made people's hearts sink. Tong Yao blocked Lin Yingmei's surprise slash with great difficulty. The Arctic Star Spear's formidable power shook from its body directly to her hand. You deserve respect. Lin Yingmei rarely showed recognition. Perhaps, like Su Xing, she also admired the river-churning clam Tong Yao's effortful practice at the sword training courtyard. At the moment, this was still Tong Yao's already exhausted state. Tong Yao coldly smiled. She did not need this kind of respect that was earned only when she was weak. The river-churning clam suddenly retreated backward, and then with a step, actually identically leapt into the air and made an aerial cut. Lin Yingmei accepted it without question, Tong Yao's attacks again and again bullying her. The majestic star clutched her spear with a single hand, turning her hand over, and easily returning it back. The spear tip seemed to be tearing open a line as Lin Yingmei's offensive timing increased, and Tong Yao repeatedly retreated. While Lin Yingmei fought for time, Su Xing was not idle. In fact, at the time the Panther Head took action, he simultaneously acted to handle Chen Zhonglin. Star Masters duels often were just like this, Star General with Star General, Contractor with Contractor, and among this could they reveal their talent, show their skill and be called matchless? In order to not alarm the rest of the Blooming Water Sword sect, Su Xing also gave up attacking with artifacts, the Heavenly River Sword directly pointed at them. His unconventional gambit, however, was broken up by the true Qi protecting Chen Zhonglin. After all, he was Blooming Water Sword sect disciple, which was far more brilliant compared to an inferior organization such as the Thousand Machine Gang. Chen Zhonglin put two fingers together, and a blue flying sword flew out in the blink of an eye. Then, under the control of his divine intent, the sword turned into fierce water and shot forth. Su Xing leaned back, the pure gold shield suddenly increasing in size many times and positioned itself in front of him. Water Transformation Sword Art. 2. Chen Zhonglin struck several seals, and the sword water abruptly became dense, changing into a dozen water blades. The pure gold shield revolved around Su Xing's body, looking like an impenetrable defense tightly wrapped around him. The water sword violently struck upon the pure gold shield surface, but aside from sending droplets of pearls and jades splashing about, it lacked the strength to break through. Chen Zhonglin was not slighted at all, and he continued to urge the sword art onward. The dozen water blades rotated quickly in the air above, condensing into a torrential downpour that directly hacked downwards towards Su Xing. The pure gold shield could stop an attack on the whole body, but it had no way of stopping even a peep from above. This was the first time Su Xing experienced the sword arts that enjoyed much fame in Liangshan continent. Immediately, he threw out a small object, and that object swelled many tens of sizes when it left his bag. Propping it open, it blocked above Su Xing. This happened to be that high-grade nebula stage artifact, Heaven Concealing Parasol. The water transformation sword art being blocked by the parasol was considered to have made Chen Zhonglin surprised for a bit. The gale upon his face transformed into thunder and lightning. Su Xing took advantage of the gap in Chen Zhonglin's control over the transforming water sword art. With a single bound, he swiftly moved like a snake seemingly spitting poison and venom. The silver blade in his hand coldly flashed suddenly, the flickering astral crest upon his forehead breaking Chen Zhonglin's protective true qi, and the sword tip erasing his neck. Chen Zhonglin was overwhelmed with shock, but just at the moment silver blade brushed past his neck, Chen Zhonglin's body transformed into a pile of water flowers, having used a water escape to avoid a disaster. Su Xing went blank and without hesitation, raised the gun, took aim, and pulled the trigger. SFX, K. 3. A muted sound. The Chen Zhonglin that happened to appear at that position thought Su Xing was about to use some other damnable trick, recalling the transforming water sword to block his front. Su Xing seized the opportunity to move forwards and rush over. Su Xing's about face staggered Chen Zhonglin's defenses, and a cold light streaked across his stomach. Damn it! Faint traces of blood appeared. Chen Zhonglin did not expect the star cultivator before his eyes to close the distance again and again. If this bastard was not destitute that he would not have any sort of powerful artifact, sword art or sage art, then he certainly believed in his own military force too much. If it was not for him expending too much star energy at the sword training courtyard earlier, his present state would simply not necessarily be this sorry. A rumbling explosion. The blooming water hall suddenly shook thunderously, and the light of the pearls suspended on the hall instantly dimmed. Not good, the calamitous thunder evil smiting array has been broken. Chen Zhonglin shouted in horror. They have an accomplice. These words had only just dropped when the completely clothed in black thief Star Shiqian dodged out of the blooming water hall. Young master, item is in hand. Let's go quickly. Shi Yuan yelled. Although Su Xing and Lin Yingmei occupied the maximum possible advantage at this moment, even if they used up just a bit more time, They could settle their troubles in one fell swoop by means of profiting from their counterparts squandering the majority of their star energy at the sword training courtyard. However, there already was not just a bit of time that they could waste. After the calamitous thunder evil smiting array was broken, the entire blooming water sect was already alerted. The sect protection great array already was starting to activate, and staying any longer was certain death without doubt. The wind-swayed raft appeared. Su Xing's final sword pushed aside Chen Zhonglin, and he spat out several rock-piercing thunder water droplets. Chen Zhonglin gave a shrill, blood-curdling screech. Lin Yingmei nodded. Her spear held horizontally also pushed back the retreating star as she floated and entered the wind-swayed raft. Ascend! The wind-swayed raft rushed into the skies. Thinking of running? Chen Zhonglin twisted, no longer caring as much. A very red gourd flew out in the blink of an eye and chased behind Su Xing. The gourd suddenly shot a red light, and a wide expanse of blood-colored raindrops fired out from the lip of the gourd like a torrential downpour. This was precisely the blood rain pot. Su Xing opened the heaven-concealing parasol and covered it. The blood-colored raindrops were extremely swift and fierce. The power of the long-range strikes on the heaven-concealing parasol made Su Xing's divine intent feel maximum stress. Fortunately, the star cultivator himself was in utterly poor condition. Chen Zhonglin vomited a large mouthful of blood, and the blood rain pot's light faded, dropping back into his astral bag. Senior brother Zhonglin. What happened? The other blooming water sect disciples rushed over. Seeing the scene of Chen Zhonglin's and his star general's sorry and wounded figures, they were very much flabbergasted. Chen Zhonglin watched the vanishing wind-swayed raft, his face unsightly beyond compare. The wind-swayed raft flew out 100 li in the blink of an eye, and it was just at this time that a translucent light covered the blooming water sect's overboard summit, shrouding it within. With that small of a difference, Su Xing and the others would have become caged birds. However, now was still not the time to rejoice, for biggest danger had just begun. A powerful star energy radiated from behind them as the blooming water sword sect's headmaster, the Taoist Luo River, furiously closed in on them. Su Xing already had the knowledge star manufacture a few disturbances at the bottom of the 5 efficacious heavenly mountains, creating a diversion to draw away the blooming water sword sect's headminister, but Su Xing had still underestimated a galaxy cultivator's abilities. Taoist Luo River raised his flying sword, a soaring light. Although that twinkling could not cover 1,000 li, covering 100 li in the blink of an eye was not a problem at all. If it was not for making Taoist Luo River leave the blooming water sword sect by quite a distance in advance, then it was possible that once the blooming water array activated, Taoist Luo River would have already killed them. Thinking of this, Su Xing seemed to be facing a great enemy. Knowing that he was not able to outrun the Taoist Luo River's escape technique, he glimpsed a thorny and thick forest beneath him. He dodged and hid into the shrubbery below, at the same time activating the 72 roads concealing star technique to hide his presence. Lin Yingmei was also self-aware that she could not leave herself outside, otherwise the opponent's divine intent would easily lock onto her. Hence, she became starlight and entered Su Xing's star nest. The thief star's entire body was also stretched taut. Fortunately, she had the wordless and uncommunicative yellow rank magic. Because of the magic she mobilized as a star general, galaxy cultivators could not necessarily find her. Su Xing originally thought of letting her flee first on her own. He was on the verge of saying so when he choked it back down, for just at this time, a middle-aged man wearing a blue Taoist robe appeared overhead this brambly forest. The one who stopped was exactly the Taoist Luo River. The Taoist Luo River held both hands behind his back, standing straight against the wind, standing on a 3 flying sword with a learned air about him, motionless as a mountain. Several tens of flying swords floated at his side, faintly completing an array. How comical, unexpectedly hiding your abilities before this Taoist. The Taoist Luo River's pair of eyes suddenly shot pure light. Shouting, incomparably tyrannical, Almost as if it had substance, divine intent emanated in all directions from his eyes. The more than 3 zhang of trees and rock were successively dashed into tiny pieces and annihilated to smithereens by this divine intent that filled the entire area. This blooming water sword sect headmaster was exceptional, as expected. A radius of almost 10 li had been enshrouded by his surly and abnormal divine intent. Each and every move, every iota, the slightest movement were all transmitted into the Taoist Luo River's mind. Under the strafing of a galaxy late stage's divine intent, the 72 roads concealing star technique unexpectedly was a bit outmatched. Faint star energy dispersed, already having fluctuations. The heart of the Su Xing who examined this situation tightened, not knowing what to do. His star energy's fluctuations were more and more intense, and the 72 roads concealing star technique was already on the verge of collapse, about to dissipate at any moment. In a few more seconds, his body was about to be exposed under the Taoist Luo River's divine intent strafing. Arriving at this critical juncture, Su Xing drew in a long breath, contrarily calming down. He was about to apply that heart-like mirror's absolute sincerity soul technique, entering the stable heart realm. At this time, how could anyone anticipate the thief Star Shi Yuan would be more anxious than Su Xing? In a moment of desperation, regardless of the actual situation, she suddenly leaned forward, and embracing Su Xing in both her arms, she kissed him. The Lin Chong inside the star nest trembled. Su Xing opened both his eyes wide. Hooking onto the girl's tongue, his mind floated away. An exotic fragrance assailed his nostrils, and the wordless and uncommunicative qi hiding art was passed through the tongue and enveloped Su Xing immediately. Each of their presences suddenly disappeared. Both of Su Xing's hands tightened as he shut his eyes and applied the soul technique. Controlling his state of mind, there was somewhat of a mishap. Both he and the thief star could possibly be exposed. Heart still as water, spirit support clear and clean, and willpower deft, his heart was an empty mirror. 5. The spiritual power revolving around Su Xing's surroundings was unable to bear the divine intense attack, at last dispersing in all 4 directions and escaping. The divine intent swept past Su Xing and the other's hiding spot, yet it found an empty space without a single thing. The Su Xing right now was just inside a sort of profound realm, similar to staying on a bright and empty platform. Green hills and running water, conforming to heaven and earth, and extremely high auspicious red clouds, his body seemed to have become one with heaven and earth. Astonishingly, it was the unattainable path of oneness of heaven and man. 6. Using one's own heart to connect with the heart of heaven and earth, some practitioners finished their lives without entering this state, and there were cultivators who practiced for several days who, because of one time, realized it was possible. Degree of merit, intensity of star energy, and acquired realms all did not matter purely because this was a sort of indiscernible fate. The advantages and disadvantages of entering the path of oneness of heaven and man were not explained clearly by anyone. Some people appreciated the will of heaven, increasing their merit and advancing their skills. Some people got lost within the boundlessness of the will of heaven, their very spirit assimilated by the will of heaven, ceasing to exist. Fortunately, Su Xing had practiced the heart-like mirror's soul technique. He was very familiar this sort of thing that disturbed the heart. 7. Setting his state of mind, a heart to hold onto his own mind, he did not accept any foreign disturbances, retaining his own consciousness. During this time devoid of life, it seemed everything had been frozen. The unending high mountains were motionless, the mist not dancing, the clear water not flowing. A choking and constraining that would make one feel unable to breathe. The heart calm like water at this sort of time and space fixed the world into something even more unbearably terrifying. The spirit seemed to transform into rotten dust, experiencing 1,000 years of tempering and refining. Su Xing remained unmoved, wholly maintaining that motionlessness, this silence of unmoving. This stationary void seemed to know Su Xing's intentions, rigidly unchanging. It was always this stifling scenario. He did not know how much time passed, like it had been a few centuries, but it was also like a single moment. Su Xing, after all, was only a man. He was far from reaching the indifferent realm of Taoists. Although his will was firm, to be in this kind of environment for a very long time without knowing how to get out, that still-like water mental state also rippled, showing a weak point. Su Xing hastily calmed his mind, applying the spirit art. Luckily, Su Xing's determination to pass the chaotic tail escape and heart like mirrors double tempering and refining once more added to a soldier's endurance that an ordinary person absolutely could not bear. This stillness was like a millennium. Mirror without a stand, look at mountains not as mountains, look at water not as water. An incantation suddenly flashed like an epiphany through Su Xing's mind. Was this not a verse of admonishment from the admonition riddle? Su Xing was enlightened with perfect wisdom, where a flash of light made everything clear. He no longer clung obstinately to his mind, rather, he looked towards the middle of this taciturn mountain and river. During this slowness, under Su Xing's divine intent, this landscape finally began to flow. The empty world all of a sudden brimmed with vitality, coming alive, like peeled-off eggshells. It transformed into countless bizarre symbols, characters twisting like tadpoles, all deeply engraved into Su Xing's mind. That lump of emptiness slowly retreated and scattered, finally disappearing from Su Xing's eyes without a trace. Su Xing could be considered very fortunate. Under Shi Qian's uncommunicative and the heart-like mirrors simultaneous usage, he unexpectedly entered the absolute sincerity soul techniques, see mountains not as mountains, second realm. Previously, when he broke through the first realm, Su Xing on more than one occasion thought of entering the second realm, yet all along he could not attain enlightenment. It seemed this absolute sincerity soul technique needed its origin to work. In the middle of the soul technique, a few refined incantations transmitted into his mind. Unexpectedly, these were several of the heart-like mirrors soul technique's abilities: oneness of heaven and man, 8, mirror without a stand, 9, and empty mountains and rivers, 10, oneness of heaven and man, a type of excellent qi hiding technique. Compared with the thief star Shi Qian's wordless and communicative, it was not at all inferior. Mirror without a stand, set to guard the mind, expelling fantasies and warding off evil spirits, demons and monsters, magic noises and demon technique, none lacking rapid escape. And the empty mountains and rivers, then, was granting and displaying a fantastical landscape to trap the target. However, it required expending enormous amounts of star energy and could not necessarily succeed. If the heart-like mirror soul technique had originally only been a temperament cultivation soul technique, not seeing Master Mirror's life of cultivating essence, entering the second realm of the absolute sincerity soul technique was genuinely stepping into the top-notch ranks. A mumble. Su Xing opened his eyes and saw the Shi Qian that had been tightly embraced to his chest squirming in protest, and his hands happened to have one on her shoulder and the other on her butt. The thief star Shi Yuan's face appeared to be red like a tomato. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.